Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th ISWA YPG online conference, this year titled End of Business as Usual in Waste Management, the Role of Young Professionals. My name is Dr. Amani Malouf, and on behalf of the organizing committee, it is our great pleasure to welcome you all for this conference. I'm the co-leader of the Research and Innovation Working Group of the ISWA YPG, and I will be co-sharing today's program together with my colleague, Dr. Navarro Ferronato from Italy. This conference is an annual event organized by the ISWA Young Professional Group, which aims to create an international platform to promote young professionals working in the waste sector all around the world to share their innovative ideas. The current environmental disasters that we are witnessing worldwide have proven that the increase in waste and emissions from all sectors have contributed to climate change and accordingly have proven that our economy is linear rather than circular. And because of that, the young generations will especially pay the price. In this context, we believe that the ISWA YPG group can provide the platform for young professionals and researchers in the waste management sector to network and bridge the gap between academia and industry. This will for sure lead to responsible young leaders in the waste sector who believe in the necessity of this transition to circular economy. So we as young professionals are the catalyst for this transition. This year, we will emphasize on the role of young professionals, also introducing the work implemented by national chapters in the YPG group. We gave chances to more speakers as possible to be part of this conference organized by young professionals and only for young professionals. For this conference, we have launched a competition and received abstracts and posters from researchers from more than 10 nationalities. From a very competitive call for abstract, we built 2 sessions, and the 3 best presenters will be awarded. Best of luck to all presenters. We are excited to hear about your innovative ideas. I'm delighted to announce that there will be 2 scholarships to attend the ISWA Swiss Winter School in Texas next year, which is an outstanding program on sustainability and waste management. We are grateful to Professor Sahada, Director of Swiss, for awarding these prizes from the University of Texas in Arlington. In addition, 1 individual ISWA membership for 1 year will be awarded to the winner. We are proud to host a diverse program with more than 18 young talents from different backgrounds, research topics, cultures, nationalities, and gender. We are grateful to host this conference for attendees from nationalities from around the globe. Please use the chat on the right of your screen to introduce yourself. Any comments and questions to the speakers are also most welcome. You can submit them by typing into the chat interface. Make sure to identify to whom you are addressing the question. Wish you all an excellent conference. To commence this impactful event, I'm pleased to invite Mrs. Anna Loureiro. Anna is a member of ISWA board, representing the national members. She is also the communication director at EGF, the leading company in urban waste management in Portugal. Anna, welcome to the conference. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Amani, for the great introduction. So, dear colleagues, it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you at this online annual conference of the group of young professionals from ISWA, and to have the opportunity to share experiences and learn from you and get the feeling of forever young. So I start by introducing myself quickly. My name is Ana Loureiro. I am Portuguese. I live and work in the Lisbon area in Portugal. I am 46 years old. I'm married. I have 2 children who are my pride. And I work in the waste management sector since the year 2000, that is 22 years ago. So my everyday job is at EGF, a Portuguese company that treats and values around 60% of the country's urban waste. And my role is communications director, which means interacting with everyone in the most effective way and find solutions every single day. So, well, on a second thought, more than an environmental communication technician, which I am, I will be more like a solution provider, whatever that is. So, and well, being a communication technician, I have to share here that on these online conferences, communicating with you is more difficult and very unidirectional. So let's start by defining some simple rules that will help us all to reach the end of these 15 minutes with more certainty that first, we will remember the message, and second, that you will find, I can find a way to get some of your feedback. So I would like to challenge you all to implement a simple code with 3 simple rules, which you can use for the whole conference or even between yourselves. So rule number 1, a gesture to demonstrate that the content is making sense to you and that you have a story to tell. So, and what is this gesture? I ask you to choose an object from your desk, from where you are, from your pocket, or an object that you like, and then you can show it to the camera and to show everyone. So whenever you make this gesture, showing your object, and me and everyone will realize that the content makes sense to you and that you have a story to tell about the topic I'm talking about. So send me an email, please. If you want to share your story, I will be more than glad to share stories with you and we can connect after the conference. So let's look at your objects. I have mine right here. So this is my object. So when I put my cap, I have a story to tell. And I would like to challenge you all to have this object and perhaps we can have a nice screen. So this is the first rule. Second rule, if you like what you are hearing, so I would like to give us thumbs up, okay? But you can do it in a more easy way, which is to clap your hands like citizens that are deaf, like this. So if something that you are hearing looks nice, you can clap your hands. And if it doesn't look nice, so this is rule number 3, please put your thumbs down, okay? Something you don't approve, something you don't like, or something we want to express our opinion against, okay? These are simple rules I'd like to address, and then if possible, if I can see you all, I will have some feedback from you. Okay, and now my time will be spent in 2 different ways, okay? I'm going to tell you 2 stories, stories that I believe are interesting to share with you, okay? And these stories are about my life and my experience, and I think they might be useful. So first story, my first big achievement came when I was 7 years old. So when I taught my grandparents to sign their names because they couldn't have an ID card. Why? Well, they could do that because they use their fingerprints, because they were illiterate, and they raised me, they achieved many things. But I learned early on that if I wanted to change my life for the better, this was through education, okay? And this is really my first personal message I want to leave here. I know that we all here probably are very well educated, but what I want to tell you is don't stop. We never stop, okay? We never are completely fully educated. This is a learning for a lifetime, okay? First story. So second story, it's another experience, but this time it's in ISWA. And I would like you to tell that don't get satisfied with the labels that groups have. In spite you are part of the young professionals group, which is incredibly good because you bring a lot of new blood for ISWA, or if you are part of the women's on waste group, like the background you are looking now, which is also a group from ISWA, don't be satisfied with any label that you are just because you belong to a group. So I started in ISWA in 2002, so a long time ago, at the working group on communication and social issues. So, and at that time, there was no group of young professionals, okay? So the consistency of the work and the energy to be on the side of the solution led me to be chair of this group when I was 30 years old. The same age, I entered the STC, and the STC means Scientific and Technical Committee. I was there as chair, and I was really the youngest ever and the first woman at the STC in ISWA at that time. And this is only happened because I was in one of the working groups, and that's why I challenge you all to be in more groups than just the youth group. Don't stick to labels, because you need to amplify your knowledge, amplify your contacts. So now I'm on the board of ISWA representing national members, And if you told me back in 2002 that this would happen, I would not believe you, okay? So you are professionals, good professionals, no matter if you are young or old. ISWA added value is in this healthy and rich mix of ages, gender, nationalities. And believe me, ISWA really needs new news, really needs fresh blood, really need people like you all to come to every working group and make a difference, okay? So in the end of this conference, if you take the step to register to other groups, my participation today was already a success. So, and now finally, I will share with you my presentation and we'll talk about a different topic more related to my experience on waste management. So I believe that you all can now see my screen. And I'm going to talk to you about the role of citizens on waste and the waste management sector. So we all have different roles in the family, at work, in our free time, in society, and we also have a big role in resource management. And this is where the change starts. We need to stop talking about people as waste producers. We are resource managers. And this is achieved on the way we think, because we don't build facilities for waste producers. We build facilities because we are resource managers. This is a very important topic. I'm going to show you why with a video that has some years now, but from ISWA that gives you a glance of how people interact with waste. Are you hearing?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you for watching. This is really about people and about our behaviors and about us and what we do for a living. So since I'm from communication, I'd like to bring you here this construction of a model, which is called the said and done. But it's not mine, it's from OECD, which says that citizens do not make a direct connection between their individual behaviors and experiences and environmental improvements or damages. And if you look at the picture, what this means is when I talk to someone, I need to be sure that that person really listened to me. And after being listened, I need to be sure that the person understood it. And after being understood, I need to be sure that the person really approved the change of behavior. And after being approved, that the person will really execute it. So these are different stages. We all, as citizens in many areas of our lives, we belong in these groups. So we need to be sure that when we build a message and we transmit a message, people are really not in the same mood that we are. So be sure that you need to talk to different groups in different levels and adapt your message to the person that is hearing you, okay? So, and here comes environmental communication, where I work my everyday life. So what is this? It's a planned and a strategic use of the communication process to support development of effective policies and implementation of projects that are able to promote environmental sustainability. So this is the definition. But communication also has its own 3 R's, which is to be responsible, to be rational, and to be relevant. And be sure that when you build a message to someone, you take into consideration everything related to that person, their culture, if it's relevant at that point. So you will have more success if you can adapt to your listener, to the person you are talking to or you are writing to. And now I'm going to give you just some concepts about what we are working on communication. One of the concepts is about greenwashing, okay? Please suspicious always when someone says, oh, this is a product that is environmentally friendly. So what we need to be sure is that the messages are truthful, are provable, are clear and understandable, current and relevant. Many times we see a new product in the market that says, oh, this is good for the environment. And it is not didn't even consider anything on the life cycle. Another video I want to show you now about words. Normally in this field, people tend to look a lot about these strange words. You see carbon neutral, incineration, rest fraction, biogas. For the common citizen, all these words means danger, okay? If you look at these words all together, it really looks like something weird. And when we are technicians, scientists, engineers, we tend to use the language which is more comfortable to us. But this is not the language the citizen understands. I saw so many times engineers trying to explain a very good project, and the reaction from the people are, I don't want that thing on my door because it's dangerous. They don't understand the language. So be very sure that you adapt your language to your audience. Another concept now, whose garbage is it? So this is interesting because when the people buy, for instance, a bottle of water, after they drink the water, they think the bottle is not theirs. And this is a problem because they think they can throw it away or that someone will collect it and it's not theirs. Well, guess what? My waste is my property. I'm the owner. If I'm the owner of a bottle of water, I have to take care of it. I have to pay for it. I have to be sure that I'm putting it in the right place. And I will also need to control if everything is done. Another shift. We need to be sure that everyone realizes that when we buy something, we are the owner until the end of the life of that object. So this is a powerful message I encourage you to talk about. Another concept about recycling. If you ask someone, oh, do you recycle? Everybody says yes. Well, the problem is that probably that citizen really recycles, but recycles some things, sometimes, and where it's most comfortable. What we would like them to do is to recycle all, always, and everywhere, okay? And sometimes this is not possible, we all know that, but be sure that you don't trust completely when someone says they recycle, because they recycle something in the most comfortable way. So this is also a good topic for messaging regarding recycling. And I would like to share with you a campaign I did in my country, made in 2020, co-financed by the EU funds, which was a great success and really increased the recycling rates.
Somos a primeira geração a sentir os impactos da mudança climática.
E a última a tempo de mudar.
Porque as embalagens reciclamos.
O nosso mar, não.
O papel reciclamos.
A nossa natureza, não.
O vidro reciclamos. O planeta que vamos deixar aos nossos filhos.
Não, porque o futuro do planeta não é reciclável.
Okay, this was a campaign made with our own workers, showing the work we do every day. And this was a big success because we really made it for all the country, and it was a most incredible one. So I wanted to share with you. Another concept I want to bring you here, it's about NIMBY. I'm sure you all heard about it. Some people say it's a syndrome, some say it's a phenomenon. Okay, I have to tell you, this is not a disease, okay? This is really a phenomenon that it's about fears. People have fears related to waste facilities regarding the pollution of air, groundwater, rivers or streams, the increase in traffic, noise increase, land devaluation, or existence of odors, and probably some other fears. And people are right to be feared. First, we need to acknowledge that these fears are correct. We only need to address them the best way. So ignore the NIMBY effect is really a mistake. I have seen many projects that didn't even get born because they didn't took care of the communication with the population. So be sure to do it. If you have to participate in projects, besides the fact that you need to build a good project, you really need to take attention to your neighbors and to every kind of public related to the facility, okay? Or else you'll have a bad surprise in the end of it. Another concept is about complaints. When we are mature and we have systems that receive complaints, complaints is not a bad thing, okay? Complaints is an offer from our audiences. It's an opportunity to improve. I'm more worried with people who don't complain because they have given up or they are doing the bad thing. They don't care. People who complain are giving us an opportunity to improve our service, to improve our knowledge, and they are really giving us information. So take it as an offer, and then you will deal much better with this in the future or in present if you need to work with complaints. So this is really what some main messages I would like to transmit to you. And in the end, I think you all know the answer to this question. What is a citizen role? So to be a resource manager, this is really our role. And make a shift, make the right use of it. So thank you very, very much for being here, for your attention. I wish you all a great conference today and a brilliant future ahead. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna, for your inspiring and motivational speech. It was a great pleasure to have you with us today and learn from your experience in life and in ISWA. Let's proceed now with our second invited speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm taking great pleasure in introducing the chair of the ISWA YPG, Ronald Samson, who will give us an opening speech. Let's welcome Ronald. Ronald, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Amani. It's fantastic to be here today. So for me, the ISWA YPG conference is just an incredibly important part of our organization. That is the ISWA YPG. You know, because there's too many ideas that are not given the platform to be heard. And I'm sure myself and the leadership team will agree that part of our responsibility as leading this organization is to have the responsibility to use our network, our resources, and the time that we have to make sure ideas do come to light. I think there's something magical that happens when an idea leaves your head and you put it down in writing. It comes alive. And the life that you breathe into your work gives it a chance to be seen. And most importantly, when it is seen, it can be discussed and built upon. And for me, there are few things more beautiful than seeing an idea growing into something bigger, into something that might even change the world. So I wanted to give a very special thank you to all the brave entrants who submitted their abstracts to the competition. And a huge congratulations to those of you that were picked to present today. I think you've all shown courage to expose your ideas to the scrutiny of your wider waste community. And, you know, this is not an easy task because I'm sure it's very normal for all of us to think, what if it's not good enough? But I think today is about remembering, what if it is good enough? You know, because there's no shame in failing. It's only shame in not trying. So that for me is why it gives me great pleasure that the YPG can bring together the courageous young minds who are shaping the future of waste on our planet. The future needs our generation to take the reins, to be strong, and to show that we are big enough to not only accept the state of the world as it is, but also to visualize and realize a better world for those that come after us. I'd like to quickly share my screen with you guys, if that's okay, and give you a quick summary about where we are at the moment with the YPG. Can I check if anybody can actually see my screen? Excuse me.
I cannot see it yet, Ronald.
Okay, let's try again. Okay, one sec. Okay, looks like we can't do that, but that's all right. I'll just talk you through it. So just a little bit of an update on where we're at member-wise in the YPG. As of the end of last month, we are 95 members from 45 countries around the world, with the biggest participation from Spain, the Netherlands, Portugal, India, and Colombia. And we have a few more ladies than gentlemen, in fact. So I think that's something really good and something to be proud of. I think, in my opinion, I've seen a lot of incredible work done by the ladies in our YPG. So that's a nice sign. In terms of regional networks within the YPG, we have the opportunity for members to participate in a local sense, going along with the concept of act local but think global. So at present, we have regional organizations in Colombia, Brazil, Finland, India, Malaysia, Pakistan, Peru, Portugal, the Ukraine, Germany, Spain, and Nepal. And soon we are likely going to be joined by some colleagues from Italy and Norway. I thought I'd also let all of you guys know how we divide up our tasks. So the event you're attending today is run by Amani and Navarro. Thank you to both of you, who co-lead our research and innovation working group. That's merely one of the working groups that we have at the YPG. And some others are our communications, our regional networks, which I just mentioned, education, online discussions and meetings, and career development. So we have lots of different groups which contribute to the greater mission of the YPG. And if there's any of you who would like to contribute, we absolutely have something interesting for any one of you. Also, I just wanted to take the opportunity to mention to you all that we do have a flagship project this year, which is an accelerator. So if any of you guys have business ideas, new concepts, innovations in the circular economy or waste management space, head on over to our website or any one of our socials, and you'll be able to see what's happening regarding our flagship project or anything else that you'd like to discover about us. And yeah, from my side, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here. Thank you so much to Amani and Navarro for organizing it and the rest of the organizing committee. And a huge welcome to all of you guests. And I'm sure we're going to have an excellent time today. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ronald, for your welcome speech. Now I leave the floor to my colleague, Dr. Navarro Ferronato, co-chair of the Research and Innovation Working Group of the ISWA YPG. Navarro, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me and can you see me, Amani?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. So hello, everyone. My name is Navarro Ferronato. I am co-chair of the Research and Innovation Working Group and junior researcher at the University of Insubria in Varese, Italy. So welcome, everyone. And I'm going to moderate in this session so we can start with the abstract competition. So good luck to everyone. This session includes 9 presentations, 8 minutes each. You can submit your text questions to today's presenters by typing them into the chat interface you see on the screen on your right. Please mention your name and state to which presenter you would like to forward your question. Please add only questions and nothing more. So let's start with the first presentation. I would like to welcome our first presenter, Shubham Sharma from India, whose presentation title is The Waste Kuznets Curve Hypothesis from Municipal Solid Waste Evidence from India. Shubham Sharma is from the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences in India Institute of Technology, Roorkee. Shubham, the floor is yours. Please share your screen. Perfect, we can see it.
Am I audible?
Yes, perfect. The floor is yours, 8 minutes.
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much, the International Solid Waste Association, for providing me with this opportunity to share my research. So I am Shubham Sharma from the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. I'll be talking about the waste Kuznets curve for municipal solid waste in India for 28 states and 2 union territories. So my discipline is economics, and I have seen that most of the presenters here are from either the engineering background or the social scientists. So I don't know how are we going to take it, but thank you so much once again. I hope I'm able to share whatever I want to. So India is one of the largest developing countries in the world, experiencing second highest population with an accelerated urbanization and increasing urban agglomerations and urban sprawls. Now, the increasing population creates pressure on the adequate management of the municipal solid waste, which is increasing unprecedentedly since last several decades. Now, according to a World Bank report, India is amongst the top 10 countries in the world that generates highest amount of municipal solid waste. Now, that in itself is not the only problem that we are experiencing. Rather, it also states that more than 50% of this waste either remains untreated or unprocessed. According to a Central Pollution Control Board report 2019-20, it states that around 36.67% of the municipal solid waste was only processed and the remaining was unprocessed, which is a very big concern for the country. Now, historically, it has been observed as and when the population or the economic activities, they grow owing to the increase in consumption or the total expenditure, it is also followed by increasing waste generation. What is Kuznets curve? Simon Kuznets in 1955 hypothesized a relationship between GDP per capita and income inequality, wherein he stated that as the GDP per capita increases, the income inequality will rise. However, after reaching a certain level, with further increase in GDP per capita, we will experience a fall in the income inequality. The same now, in this sense, we will observe an inverted U-shaped curve, such that with increase, there would be a further increase in income inequality and then it would fall. Now, when such kind of a concept is applied with respect to pollutants such as sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, or suspended particulate matter, etc., then it is termed as environmental Kuznets curve. Similarly, when the similar perspective is provided with respect to the waste in general or the municipal solid waste, we term it as the waste Kuznets curve. Now, herein we are trying to contribute to the existing literature by addressing the existence of the link between economic development, which is proxied by GDP per capita, and waste production, that is the municipal solid waste, known as the waste Kuznets curve, to see whether there is a delinking or a decoupling between economic development and waste generation. Also, to validate the existence of the waste Kuznets curve or in an inverted U-shaped relationship between GDP per capita and waste generation for 28 states and 2 union territories for 2012 to 2019. Now, the concept of environmental Kuznets curve was given by Panayotu in 1993. Grossman, Kruger, Shafik, and Bandoppadhyay were first few people who have raised awareness or has contributed to the environmental Kuznets curve. The shape of the environmental Kuznets curve has remained ambiguous. There were some studies which found an inverted U-shaped relationship. However, there were also that did not find an inverted U-shaped relationship. Rather, they found an increasingly monotonous relationship with respect to the pollutants and GDP per capita, such as Shafiq and Bandyopadhyay, which have found an increasing monotonically increasing relationship between carbon dioxide and GDP per capita. Managi and Jaina did not find any relationship at all. There were other studies that have found an N-shaped relationship. Now, what is the waste Kuznets curve that we are talking about? It is an inverted U-shaped relationship between waste generation and economic growth. Shafiq in 1994 found that there is a direct relationship between waste generation and income. Similar perspective was also supported by other authors. Ichinos was amongst the first of its kind that showed that there is some kind of a decoupling between waste generation and economic development, and he illustrated that there exists a waste Kuznets curve hypothesis actually. Now, what has happened with certain studies is that when we have a cross-national study or a cross-sectional study, then there are certain other factors that are not taken into account, such as the heterogeneity in the generation of waste, the composition of waste that are generated in different sorts of countries, and with respect to the geographical spaces also. Now, this is what we have taken care in our study. That is, we have taken one single country and have analyzed all the 28 states and 2 union territories to see what is the geographical diversification, and also taken into account the heterogeneity with respect to the waste. The dependent variables are the municipal solid waste. The independent variable is the gross state domestic product. Like we have the GDP, the gross domestic product for the countries, we have the gross state domestic product for the states. The control variables are population density, the rate of urbanization, municipal expenditure, public expenditure in health, human development index, slum population, and political stability. Now, here is the model that we have used. The X as in the model represent the control variables, and the VI and the epsilon I, they contribute to the measurement. They consider the outliers. The condition for an inverted U-shape would be that beta 1 is positive and beta 2 would be negative. Only then we can observe an inverted U-shape curve. The method used is the geometric method of moments, which is again for robustness checks. We have also used second stage least square and ordinary least square. Now, here are the results that I have obtained considering the fact that whether the gross state domestic product or the economic development has any impact with respect to the waste generation. There were 2 models used for all the 3 methods, and it has been observed that the results are quite similar across all the methods of estimation. And for the second model, for the first model, we have the main variables, which are the municipal solid waste and the gross state domestic product, which proxies the economic development. And the other model, the second model, it also includes all the control variables. Now, when we consider the second model, all the methods of estimation, they represent and accept the WKC hypothesis that that waste generation will increase with respect to GDP per capita. It will reach a certain point, and after that, when we experience a higher GDP per capita, there would be a reduction in the management of waste, which would be because of the increased mechanizations and modernizations in managing the waste. With respect to the control variables, the rate of urbanization and some slum population, they exert a direct and a significant relationship. All the other control variables, they do not have a significant relationship, although the sign of the control variables are well in space. The conclusion is that we are observing a turning point. However, the turning point observed are well beyond the mean values in our data set, which illustrates that the turning point may not have been achieved currently, but we may achieve such a turning point in future. What is the conclusion with respect to this? Although we are observing a WKC, but the turning points are not within the average values observed in our data set. They are at a higher point. So at present, we are positing that waste generation will increase with further increase in the gross state domestic product. A possible explanation for the same is that we are still in the rising trajectory of the early of the stages of development. So there is a person, Rosto is his name. He has named various stages of development, and India is still in its earliest phases of development. So the waste generation is expected to rise with further increase in GDP. We can expect a turning point in future when our economy matures and we reach a significant amount of GDP per capita, so that we can resort to better management of waste with better technologies and more information.
Thank you very much, Shuman. Sorry, the time is over. Sorry.
Yeah, I am done. Just 10 seconds. So here is the curve depicting an increasing waste generation with respect to the gross state domestic product or the economic development. So we can see that as the economy develops, there is a further increase in the waste generation. Thank you so much. Just before I conclude, I would like to share something. So I am on a project on mountains. I work on solid waste management, basically in hills. So there was something that was shared by Anna Loriro ma'am, wherein she talked about environmental communication. Now, when I'm here, I can see that how that is very impactful. It is very important that we share knowledge with respect to the waste generation. Here in mountains, people they reuse or recycle everything that they obtain from nature, but there is something that is, since last 10 years they have started using plastics, etc., which they are not able to dispose or degrade, and what they do is they simply burn it. Now it is important for us to make them realize that how harmful it is and how we can manage. So information sharing is very important. That is what I wanted to share. Thank you so much for providing me again this opportunity. Thank you so much. I'm done.
Thank you very much, Shuman. Sorry, but we are running out of time and we have to respect all the time for all the speakers. So we have to move forward. Sorry for that, but thank you for your inspiring presentation. Now let's move to the second presenter, continuing our session. You will be listening the presentation of Pietro Castellani from Italy, whose presentation title is Solid Waste Management at Lature Hospital, Gulu, Uganda, a Model for Africa. Pietro works at the University of Insubria, Department of Theoretical and Applied Sciences. Pietro, the floor is yours. Can you hear us?
Thank you so much. Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can hear you, we can see you, and you can start sharing your presentation.
Okay, perfect. You should see my screen now, and now you should see my presentation.
Perfect. The floor is yours. 8 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Pietro Castellani, and I'm a PhD student in environmental sciences at the University of Insubria in Italy. And in these 8 minutes, I'm going to talk about solid waste management at Lature Hospital in Uganda. St. Mary Lature Hospital is one of the largest non-profit hospitals in Equatorial Africa and the second largest hospital in Uganda. It's located in Gulu, the largest city in northern Uganda, and the hospital was founded in 1959 by 2 Italian doctors and is currently supported by an Italian foundation. So in this short presentation, I'm going to answer 4 main questions. Why we choose to focus on Lature, how waste is currently managed, what are the challenges related to solid waste management, and what are possible solutions. Lature Hospital is not only a hospital as we are used to, because the compound includes a nurse school, the Faculty of Medicine of Gulu, a residential area, a farm for food providing, and a wastewater treatment plant. People living in the residential area are about 3,000. So Lature Hospital is a unique context because it is well-bounded, both physically and in terms of governance. So it represents the perfect place where sustainability and circular actions can be studied and evaluated in terms of effectiveness. Just a brief focus on how waste is currently managed in Uganda. Municipal solid waste is mainly composed by the organic fraction, and collection rates are often very low and highly dependent on the service provider and the average income of the area. Collected waste is mostly dumped in municipal unsanitary landfill, which have usually no gas capture and leachate collection, whereas uncollected waste are mostly burned or dumped in illegal uncontrolled sites. Recycling, which is mainly driven by unemployment, poverty, and socioeconomic needs, occurs before landfill and after landfilling, and sadly, often children are involved. So speaking about waste management at Lature Hospital, the technical department of the hospital already implemented some circular waste management actions. For example, paper and wood waste are used as fuel. PET bottles and hard plastic are recycled by a local company that produces valuable products like tiles, chairs, and vases. And glass waste is shredded in order to substitute sand as construction material, and mineral oils are used to treat roof beams. So the main challenges are related to mixed waste, e-waste treatment, and healthcare waste incineration. Today, in this presentation, we will only focus on mixed waste, which is currently disposed in the municipal landfill, and it's mainly composed by two fractions: organic waste and unsorted plastic waste. So possible circular actions refers to these two fractions. Organic waste recycling is supported by the presence in the hospital compound of two canteens, which serve more than 500 people 3 times a day. So composting and anaerobic digestion are two well-established technologies which could generate products directly used in the hospital compound. For example, compost can be used in the farm, and biogas can be used in the kitchens of the canteens of the hospital to replace firewood, which is the most used source of energy in Uganda. It's used mainly for cooking. Also, biodrying could be a useful technology to produce a non-fossil fuel to replace diesel in healthcare waste incineration. Finally, plastic waste, which the part of plastic waste which is now unsorted, could be the main component of building plastic materials. So the implementation of these activities and the introduction of new technologies would support the spread of sustainable practices that could benefit not only Lature Hospital, not only Gulu, not only Uganda, but other African contexts. And the possible emergence of microeconomies linked to waste circularity could lead to the potential creation of jobs and the improvement of economic condition of people. Furthermore, the action indicated are aligned with the SDGs 3, 7, 8, 11, and 12, focusing on environmental protection, clean energy provision, and work creation. So what are the next steps for this project? A field study is surely needed and fundamental to verify this preliminary information and to produce reliable data about waste flows. It is also essential to consider public awareness on waste management and investigate possible public involvement. The field study also aims to identify the most appropriate project proposals to be implemented in the hospital compound and identify potential project partners. So thank you for your kind attention, and I look forward to updating you with new results. Thank you, Navarro.
Thank you very much, Pietro, for your informative presentation. Okay, as a reminder to the audience, you can submit questions directly to the speakers, and they can answer you directly on the chat panel. So thank you very much again, Pietro. So moving forward to the third presentation, Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will be listening to a presentation by Hee-Young Kim from Republic of Korea, whose presentation title is Derivation of Preliminary Works for Quantifying Food Losses Reflecting National Characteristics. Kim works at the Climate Change Energy Engineering Department at the Yonsei University. Kim, please, the floor is yours. Can you, perfect, share your screen and you can start. Please, 8 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, I am Haeyoung Kim, a doctoral student at Yonsei University. I conducted a study to derive 6 preliminary works for food quantification that reflects national characteristics. Approximately 1/3 of the food produced for human consumption worldwide are lost or discarded. Accordingly, the international community established SDG 12.3 and developed the Food Loss Index and Food Waste Index to monitor the proceeding of the goal. Quantification research has been conducted in various countries and by international organizations. Although research processes are becoming standardized, there is still no standard that can be applied to all countries. Food quantification studies inevitably need to reflect the unique characteristic of a country, and a list of 6 preliminary works has been drawn up in this regard. This study is expected to provide basic data for full-scale quantification work in Korea and also provide an initial approach for quantification research in other countries. These are the research results and discussion. The figure on the left is a schematic diagram of the research process of quantifying food loss. If you look inside the red box, there are 6 predetermined tasks, and national characteristics should be reflected in these tasks. If so, what is the work that reflects national characteristics? The first is to identify whether international quantification method and national systems are combined. Second, the research analysis is conducted using official national statistics. Third, it is the process of adjusting and setting detailed conditions according to the culture and priorities of a country in the quantification process. Henceforth, I will share detailed research results on how the characteristics of Korea were reflected in the above 6 predetermined tasks. The first task is clarification of the purpose and object of quantification. In general, quantification of food loss can be performed for a variety of targets and ranges. Some previous studies focused on a single food item, and some studies were limited to a place called Korean restaurants. In my case, the final research direction is to derive the Korean Food Loss Index after obtaining the national food loss percentage. The current level of the research is in the number 1 stage, that is, the stage to calculate loss percentage according to food commodities in the food supply chain. The second task is understanding of the definition and scope of food loss and waste. Food loss refers to a decrease in the quantity and quality of food considered to be consumed by humans. Livestock feed and seeds are not food in the first place. Moreover, parts such as bone, these are virtually inedible to humans. Therefore, when calculating food loss in the future, these parts should be separated. Hence, allocation factor and conversion factor are introduced. Meanwhile, there is a major conceptual difference between loss and waste. That is where loss and waste occurs within the food supply chain. Food loss is understood to occur in the free retail stages, and food waste is understood to occur in the retail and consumption stages. In terms of statistical management in Korea, the production and distribution sectors at the front of the supply chain are managed by the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, but the waste sector at the back is under the control of the Ministry of Environment. The third task is adopting quantification method and criteria. First, there are various ways to quantify food depending on whether a researcher has physical access to food loss. For my research, I do not have direct access to the FLW occurrence site, but I do have access to national statistics that seem highly applicable. Therefore, the mass balance method, which is a method of inference by calculation, is adopted. You can see the basic equation of mass flow at the bottom of the slide. As a methodological guideline, the FAO report titled Global Food Losses and Food Waste was adopted. The first task is selecting commodity groups. Before selecting the food items to be studied, I thought about the approach that would be needed to achieve the greatest effect with limited resources when solving the food loss problem. That is why I set my own standards for selecting food items. I first checked the food production on the food balance sheet, the values of the food manufacturing industry, sales in the food wholesale and retail industry, and the ranking of the food supply per capita per day. Thereafter, I selected the top 50% of the item as object items to be studied. As a result, vegetables, cereals, fruits, and meats were selected for the study. The fifth task is setting food supply chain stages. The figure on the right shows the distribution channel of fruit and vegetable from farm to retail in Korea. As shown, each food item has a different distribution channel, and it can be very complicated. In this study, 5 supply chain stages were established by referring to the FAO guidelines. And it is judged that many distribution stages can converge on these 5 stages in a broad framework. The sixth task is collection of data for methodology application. This is a comprehensive picture of what I have talked about so far. The food for human consumption produced on the farm moves to another level in the supply chain. In the process, some of the edible part and the inedible part of food are discharged in the form of food loss and waste due to various causes. The areas indicated with a red check mark in this material flow are sections that require specific data. In the next slide, I'm going to show you what these data are and how they are used, and then wrap up my presentation. This is an example of an initial data work of mass balance for vegetable in 2015. For research analysis, information on food supply and demand, conversion and allocation factor, waste percentage by stage of supply chain, and distribution channel are required. The necessary information for each section and the data source are marked. Among them, the waste percentage indicated in number 3 does not have a figure in Korea according to an interview with a related organization. Therefore, waste percentage of industrialized Asia provided in the FAO report was used. Using this data, mass balance analysis can be performed, and as a result, food loss percentage in Korea can be calculated. That's all for my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Hee-Yang Kim, for your interesting presentation, and thank you to be part of this conference. So let's move to the first presenter. Proceeding further, I would like to welcome Vi Nguyen from Germany. She's going to present a research titled Plastic Credit Principle, Mechanism, and Applications. Vi Nguyen works at the Technical University of Darmstadt in Germany. So please, Vi, we can see your presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank
8
you.
minutes.
So good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vi Nguyen from the Technical University Darmstadt, and I'm here today to discuss with you a new financing instrument for waste management, which is plastic credit, alongside with the Extended Producer Responsibility, EPR. And this is based on the research at our university, together with 2 amazing mentors, Dr. Shebeck, Professor Shebeck and Dr. Lopez. So we are living now in a plastic age, and plastic pollution is one of the most urgent problems that this generation is facing. And there have been different approaches to try to solve this problem. And one of those is to shift the financial burden from the governments towards the actual polluters, so the plastic producers and importers. And if you're living in an industrial countries, Germany, for example, you may be familiar familiar with the extended producer responsibility scheme. So it is a mandatory policy scheme to mandate producers or importers to take back and pay for the collection and treatment of their products. It can, however, be a very complex system and can take several years to fully function. Germany, for example, a country that has very, very high commitment in waste problem, took over a decade to adjust and renew their laws on plastic packaging management. So what about countries that has lower level of awareness about waste and low budget for such a completed and complex system? That is exactly where the idea of plastic credit comes in. So plastic credit, shortly explained, is a voluntary transferable unit that refers to 1 ton of plastic waste collected and treated. So the organizations that perform the environmental services behind it can hold these plastic credits, and the buyers, so the brand owners, the plastic producer, can purchase those credits to compensate their plastic footprint. But plastic credit is very potential, but it's also a very young market. It is a unregulated and has only voluntary standards within it. And being as young as it is observing some major challenges. And one of those is the high unit prices that the buyers are currently paying for. So it's around 200 to 800 US dollar per credit, so per ton of plastic waste. But there is no clear guidelines and transparency on why the prices are so high. And that has resulted that the buyers are stepping in, but in very, very small quantity, around 0.1 to 1 ton per day of plastic collected and treated per project. So this is why there is a lot of hesitance in the market, and also there is a low impact in the actual quantity of plastic collected and traded by the funding from plastic credit. So we were trying to find a solution for these challenges, and that all started with the what if questions. What if we can find another way to direct funding to the required infrastructures and labor for plastic waste? What if we can upskill this market by funding also larger scale facilities? So we're talking 1,000 to 2,000 ton per day. And that's exactly the idea behind my pricing model. So we suggested that we don't price based on the market value of the material, because this will not solve the problem with non-recyclables that normally have very low market value compared to the recyclables. Instead, we price based on the labor behind it. So it doesn't matter if you're dealing with recyclables or non-recyclables, the price of your credit has to reflect the actual cost needed for the infrastructure and operation to treat and collect that plastic waste. And by collecting real life data from a large scale facility in Vietnam, that treating 1,000 ton of municipal solid waste per day, so including 180 ton of plastic waste every day. That's 180x of the normal project scale currently. And that has come to the result of 33.5 US dollar per credit. But please note that this is just a treatment cost, no collection involved. And also this price right here is not to be taken as a fixed cost. Obviously, the prices can vary from locations to location, technology to technology. It can be 50, 100 US dollars somewhere else. But this had proved us that we can have a pricing that is 90% lower than the current market pricing. But what will this bring us and the market in general? Well, we believe that with the transparency and the reasonable price that it brings, we can introduce more trust into the market. So more bigger players, to name a few, Unilever, Coca-Cola, can step in with more investment that can be directed to the management infrastructures. So plastic credit, alongside with extended producer responsibility, is definitely an option when it comes to finance waste management. But if you want to sustain the results that come with it, you have to upscale the market and introduce more transparency into it. And because of that, we have some few next steps for this pricing model, that is to continuously collect the data and to test out this model in different locations for different technologies, and also to reach out to the bigger players that I just named so that they understand the concept and so that we can fund the large scale waste treatment facilities by using plastic credit. And yeah, I hope that this has opened up a new financing incentive for waste management. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Vi, for your informative presentation. Very interesting to speak about EPR models. So thank you very much. Let's move to the fifth presentation. Let's welcome our fifth presenter, Tianyu Zhang Jin from Spain, whose presentation title is Landfill Earth, a Global Perspective on the Waste Problem. So Tianyu, can you hear us? Yes, you're
Yes.
here with us. Okay, you can start sharing your screen.
Can you see it?
Yes, perfect. Please,
Okay.
the floor is yours, 8 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Navarro, for your presentation. And good morning, everyone. I am Tianyu from Barcelona, and I will be presenting my abstract entitled Landfill Earth, a Global Perspective on the Waste Problem. The 20th century's increasing waste generation has caused waste management to emerge as one of the greatest challenges of the 21st century due to its huge impact on the environment and human health. And these arise mainly from the short-term approach and economic principles that guide the waste management system. If we were to maintain the current system, it is a matter of time before the amount of waste exceeds our capacity to handle it. Waste is therefore a matter of interest not only for individual nations, but for the international community as a whole. I argue that the existing legal definitions of waste complicate waste minimization and show how the lack of a more holistic approach to the waste management system towards any efforts at managing and more importantly, reducing waste. And through a systematic review of the waste management literature, as well as analysis of national and international policies and regulations on waste, I address the root causes of waste and propose long-term solutions to it. But due to lack of time, this time I'll focus on the first. The very first idea that I want to deliver is that the current waste management system is inefficient. And the reasons are manifold. First, domestic waste management relies heavily on open dumping in developing countries and landfills in developed ones. Both methods greatly contribute to air pollution, water, and soil contamination, and harming ecosystems and affecting human health. Internationally, the widespread practice is to send waste overseas to lower-income countries that have low operation costs, cheap labor force, and loose environmental regulations. This was initially a mutually beneficial business as importers obtained raw materials to supply their growth manufacturing sectors. Nonetheless, this business operates in blatant disregard of the recipient country's human rights and environment. Developing countries often lack the capacities and regulations to manage waste in safe conditions, both environmentally wise and for the workers. And moreover, many materials importers are too contaminated to be of use. On the other hand, years of dependency on developing countries has discouraged exporting countries from developing their own domestic infrastructure for waste management and a market for recycled materials. Consequently, when China, the main importer of waste for nearly 2 decades, began to ban waste imports, it led to exporting countries to a near crisis. While other developing countries have emerged as the new importers of waste, they are likely to follow China's path, and in fact, they are already doing so. Furthermore, an important part of the business is the informal sector, which take advantage of the loopholes in control regimes and control capacities to smuggle illegal and hazardous materials. And last and most importantly, the current waste management system may cure the symptom, but not the disease. The whole structure of the world management system, as seen on definition provided by the Basel Convention, presupposes that waste is something to be discarded. leaving the generation of waste as a matter of course and hampering any prevention efforts. The definition leaves out potential waste users, nor the potential usage and revaluing of waste. We see in short that the global scenario for waste management is guided by individual state interests, and it is based on economic principles that disregard the environmental and health concerns. In contrast, the second main idea of today's presentation is an argument in favor of a long-term global and holistic approach to the problem of waste. First, we are in need of a global and long-term approach in the basis of shared impact and responsibility. Environmental effects of waste are not place-specific when they contribute to global warming, and thus its proper management should be a shared concern. This is lacking in a management system that rely on shipping waste to other countries. More generally, however, in the era of the Anthropocene, where human action increases in capability and impact, combined with the process of globalization and the ecological realities of our planet, we are in need of a more demanding concept of collective responsibility. Secondly, there lacks a holistic perspective, one that goes beyond waste management to waste minimization. And there are mainly two factors at stake here. First, the legal and cultural change. By presupposing that waste is something already existing to be disposed of by its holder, legal definitions of waste go against the principle of waste minimization, because there is no space for waste to be reduced or to avoid it from ever being created. Waste is a very relative term, dependent on context, user, technological capabilities, as well as a general understanding of waste, as something to be discarded or as something to be reused. And second, the systematic change. It is useful to see waste as not as inevitable, but as a consequence of an inefficient economic system, a system based in extraction and intensive usage of resources, which also follows the linear logic, from extraction to production to usage, and finally disposal of products. In order to address the waste problem, there is a need to transform our linear economy to a circular one. There is a regenerative by design, one in which waste is reintroduced into the industrial system as a primary resource. In this way, the circular economy is always systematically working towards waste minimization. While the idea of a transition to a circular economy is not new, actual applicability is still very lacking. According to the Circularity Gap Report of 2020, the global economy today is only 8.6% circular. And in part, it is because waste minimization measures run counter to economic growth goals pursued by governments. This is indicative of the kind of systemic and holistic change needed to address the waste problem. All in all, we have seen that first, the current waste management system is inefficient, and second, that the change needed is to a holistic and global approach. And while impractical for everyday matters, taking this radical position of questioning the very existence of waste is informative when we examine the basis of our behavior as individuals and the policies of our governments. A great potential for research usage lays within waste, and existing legislation is missing out on this reality by regulating waste as an inevitable residue. This negligence fails to provide a solid basis for our sustainable and efficient waste management system and hampers any prevention or waste minimization efforts. Therefore, it is pertinent to remind ourselves of the relativeness of the concept of waste in order to approach the problem with greater creativity and increase our ability to use waste as well as reduce its prevalence. That is all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, TNU. Very interesting presentation, very useful. So let's move to the next presenter. The sixth presentation will be introduced by Indradi Ibrahim from Thailand, whose presentation title is Assessment and Possible Practices of Plastic Circularity for Non-Recyclable Plastics in Bandung City, Indonesia. Indradi is from the School of Environment, Resources and Development, Asian Institute of Technology. So Indradi, please, the floor is yours. You can start sharing your presentation.
Thank you very much.
We can see you and we can hear you.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen.
Now we can see it. You can put it in full screen.
Okay.
Perfect. The floor is yours, 8 minutes.
Okay, so my name is Indradi Faisal Ibrahim. You can call me Indra. I graduated from master program in marine plastics abatement, the first and only masters in marine plastic abatement and marine plastic pollutions in the world. And allow me to present my study, assessment, and possible practices of plastic circularity of non-recyclable plastics in Bandung City, Indonesia. So Indonesia is a big country. We have more than 280 million of people. And Bandung is the second largest metropolitan city behind Jakarta as our capital city. So the problem is because the urbanizations, a lot of people there, 2.6 million of people. From the previous section from Anna, I totally agree that people should be resource manager, not waste producer. But unfortunately, the current situations in Bandung is still like that. And waste generation in Bandung is more than 1.6 tons, 1.6 thousand tons per day, with the composition of plastic waste to around 22%. And I believe the presence of non-recyclable plastic will burden the effort of circular economy of plastics. And so now the condition is non-recyclable plastic either end up in landfill and decline its capacity or end up in the open environment. In this study, the method is I did the stakeholder consultations with the municipality, the commercials, business, institutions, and also the people, interviews and doing the field observation in the field. As example, so this is the condition or the capacity of waste management in Bandung. So we have like, this is the type of collection, this we transport with the trucks, and then for the plastic, recyclable plastics, can be end up in the waste transfer stations, and we have more than 5,000 scavengers that sort and then send it to the recycling facility. Or the consumer can also sort their plastic and send to the waste bank, send only the recyclable, so it must be clean, uncontaminated, and then sent to the waste bank. And recycling industry is only mechanical recycling, so there is no chemical recycling, incinerator, or any technologies. And this is the landfill, which already over capacity with the height more than 50 meters. And then I developed a material flow analysis of plastic by using waste flow diagram. This is a tool to assess the leakage of plastic and also integrate with the material flow in the plastic production using the stunt tool. And this is the result. As you see, maybe a lot of number here, but the point is, this is the situations of plastic production in Bandung. And also, if you see the red line here, this is where the non-recyclable plastics presents. I present the overall plastic flow in Bandung because if I want to see the non-recyclable plastic, I have to see first, start from the beginning, starting from the production stage. So here you can see that the result of material flow analysis shows that more than 10,000 tons of plastic sent to the water system, around 300 retained in the drains, more than 11,000 tons of plastic retained in the land. So it can be in your backyard, in whatever in land. And then more than 1,000 tons of plastic burned due to the illegal burning. And you can see here that around 78,000 tons of plastic sent to the landfill. After I see the quantity by using the material flow analysis, I did the plastic waste compositions. So you can see here that plastic glass or plastic cups and plastic bottle is the only plastic that commonly recycled in Bandung City. And so we have the rest 90% that this is depend on how you manage the plastic. If you manage it properly, you can recycle it. If not, it can be contaminated, damaged, or cannot send to the recycling facility. So why does it become non-recyclable? So I divide into two types of non-recyclable plastic. The first one is non-recyclable plastic that cannot be recyclable because of its properties. So like it's thermosetting plastics, or it contains additives or hazard, or maybe it's multi-layered. And the second one is because of improper management, or also common called as the mismanaged plastic. So why I include this in a non-recyclable plastic? Because sometimes or normally when the waste municipality can collect back this plastic waste from the drains, from the river, or from land, it's contaminated already, it's damaged, and it's often rejected by the recycling facility. So the fate of non-recyclable plastics, that's composition is from the composition before, from the slide before, is from the consumption stage. And now the fate of non-recyclable plastic in the end of life, that 28.8% of plastic is recycled, 56.57% is non-recyclable plastic type 1. So it's like plastic wrap, multi-layer plastic, and also diapers. And non-recyclable plastic 2 is plastic container, plastic bag. So it's actually can be recyclable, but because you manage it like improperly, so it becomes non-recyclable. Therefore, 71% of non-recyclable plastic end up in open environment, like I told you already, in landfill, in the land, in the river, in the water body, and also in the air, because of if you burn the plastics. Or even you can collect this plastic, always rejected by the plastic recycling facility, therefore sent to the landfill. And based on the interview, based on the consultation with the stakeholders, this is the key issue and challenge of non-recyclable plastic in Bandung. The top 3 is first, of course, because the insufficiency of infrastructure and facility, either for collection or for treatment. Second one is low understanding and knowledge of plastic. So why sometimes people don't segregate the plastic? Because they don't know what types of plastic it is, how to segregate it, something like that. And the third one, or even if someone knows how to segregate the plastic, sometimes they don't care. It's lack of people awareness and participation. So I have 2 scenarios here. The first scenario is with innovative collections. So as I mentioned before, we have more than 5,000 scavengers, but normally they go to the waste transfer stations, they go to the street, they collect the waste, and then it's so time consuming. So
1 minute, Indradi, sorry, 1 minute, please.
Okay.
If you can
so
thank you.
Thank you. So by creating this mobile app that integrate the scavenger with the recycling facility, they can collect as much as plastic. And then there are material recovery facility, and then also RDF and plastic to brick, because it's originally cannot be recycled by the current recycling system. The second one is to push the producer by design for recycling. So the producer could make their plastic collectible, detectable, and recyclable. Or the second one is choice editing. Push the retailers so they only provide the recyclable plastic in the market, so they will reject. You see in the material flow analysis that there is imported plastic, you should reject the non-recyclable plastic one. And then also extended producer responsibility, because you already make your plastic collectible, detectable, recyclable. So there is no way for the producer to not recycle the plastic. And the result is, with the scenario one, you can increase the recycling rate from 33% to 80%. Scenario 2, you can increase from 33% to 64%. I create this in period year because in the country now we aim that to reduce the plastic pollution by 70% by 2025. So the conclusion is, non-recyclable plastic is plastic that cannot be recycled by current recycling practices in the area. So you need to see the area first. the recycling facility capacity because of technological hindrance and poor management. And then 71% non-recyclable plastic can end in the open environment or landfill. And therefore, from this scenario, we can see that the presence of technology and innovative practice to increase the recycling rate of plastic is very important. And also the combination of upstream and downstream policy is the best combination to manage your plastics. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Indradi. Sorry, we have not so much time. It's a very interesting presentation, very interesting topic. Plastic waste, of course, is a big issue worldwide, but we have to move forward. Thank you again for participating at the conference, and let's moving to our seventh presenter. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the seventh presentation. Let's welcome our presenter Aziz Islam from USA, whose presentation title is Comparative Life Cycle Assessment of Anaerobic Biodigesters for Rural Areas in Developing Countries. Aziz is from the Department of Civil Engineering, the University of Texas at Arlington. And please, Aziz, I can see that your presentation is on the screen. Can you hear us? I cannot see you.
Yes, Navar,
you can activate your video and audio. Perfect. Now, yes. Okay, please, the floor is yours. 8 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Navarro. So, good morning to the Europe and good night to the North America. It's late night here and I'm a little bit drowsy. Anyways, pardon me if there is anything wrong with my presentation. This is MD Aizul Islam from University of Texas at Arlington, USA. I'm very much delighted to present my work in this prestigious 5th ISWA YPG online conference, and also good to see some old faces. The topic of this presentation is comparative life cycle assessment of anaerobic biodigesters for rural areas in developing countries. So the solid waste management and the supply of clean energy can aid the progress of a developing nation. Anaerobic biodigesters, often known as AD, has the potential to contribute to this progress. AD is a popular method for biodegradable waste treatment where 60 to 70% methane gas can be produced. This gas can be used directly as fuel for cooking and the other purposes. The construction of anaerobic digesters or AD and the life cycle depends on many factors, especially on the construction materials. AD can be made from brick, concrete, steel, or plastics. In this study, a life cycle assessment of AD made of different materials is carried out to evaluate its suitability as a method of solid waste management. An ideal AD is considered which was designed for 2 typical families having 4 members each, as shown in this figure. Food leftovers and cow manure were considered as the raw input materials for this AD. The LCA was carried out for each of the anaerobic digesters. An open source program called Tool for Reduction and Assessment of Chemical and Other Environmental Impacts, in short, TRACE, has been used to conduct the LCA. The LCA process is summarized in this flowchart. The initial cost for the materials has been calculated using the latest Public Works Department schedule of rates. The total analysis is conducted based on the Bangladesh economy. In the result analysis part, 3 analyses have been focused: environmental impact, economic analysis, and social impact analysis. It has been assumed that the lifetime of these digesters are 10 years and the produced biogas can support approximately 6 hours of cooking per day. Among the digesters, the one made of steel has the highest environmental impact, and the plastic digesters has the lowest environmental impact over its lifetime. A detailed comparison of the impact scores is shown in this figure. In all cases, such as acidification, global warming, ozone depletion, etc., the minimum value was obtained for the plastic digesters. Concrete AD has the highest carbon dioxide equivalent because concrete casting releases a large amount of heat to the surrounding environment. For the economic analysis, the cost for material acquisition, construction of the digesters, maintenance, salvage, or disposal cost at the end of life, and transportation cost between different stages were considered. Over a period of 10 years, the overall cost for the concrete digester is the maximum, whereas the brick, steel, and plastic digesters can cost about 11%, 18%, and 23% lower, respectively. The unit price of biogas produced over the lifetime was also estimated. For the initial cost of material acquisition and construction, the unit price of biogas remains very high. After that, there are some expenditures for the maintenance of the digester to keep it fully functional. Consequently, within the second year, the unit price drops by 44% on an average. At the end of life cycle, if the materials are properly disposed in landfill and the recyclables are salvaged carefully, the unit price of the gas can further go down by 80% of the initial price. A survey was carried out among the locals of a selected rural area in order to assess the social impact of the digesters. In total, 73 local people from different communities participated in the survey questionnaire. According to the local opinion, in all stages except for the use phase, the plastic digester will perform better than the rest. As sourcing and construction with plastics are easier than other materials, the percentage score for plastic digesters is found higher for all the first three phases. Again, it's convenient to recycle plastic than concrete or brick. The process is also cheaper than recycling of steel. This has led to a higher rating of plastics at the end of life stage. If we summarize this study among different materials available for the construction of AD, plastic has the least environmental impact and life cycle cost over a lifespan of 10 years. The overall cost for the concrete digester is found higher, whereas the brick, steel, and plastic digesters can cost only 11%, 18%, and 23% lower, respectively. Though other materials may have some advantages like easy availability or lower price, those leave a long-lasting impact on the environment as most of them are not recyclable. As per the impacts on society, people from rural areas tend to use plastic digesters more because it's easy to use, easy setup, less maintenance, and greater salvage value at the end of its life. Thank you everyone for attending this presentation. Here is my email address and phone number. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is very interesting and a complete life cycle thinking approach related to anaerobic digestion and appropriate technologies. So thank you very much. Let's proceed with the 8th presenter. So let's welcome Amaya Garcia Tabar from Spain, whose presentation title is New Strategies for the Revaluation of cattle slurry as part of the circular economy. Amaya is from Universidad Pública de Navarra. And Amaya, you are here. You can share your presentation, please.
Okay.
Let's check if everything is good. We can see your screen, we can see your presentation and the full screen. Please,
okay.
The floor is yours, 8 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all of you, especially for my colleagues from Nidon that are somewhere there. I am here to present an R&D project that we carried out with Alaba Livestock Farm and the veterinary company ISWA YPG, which was subsidized by European feeder farms between the years 2020 and 2022. And the title of this presentation of the project is New Strategies for the Re-evaluation of Cattle Slurry as Part of the Circular Economy. It's crucial to highlight why it's important and necessary to look for new strategies of circularity and good waste management. Nowadays, organic waste from European livestock farms is managed by direct file applications or anaerobic digestion. This usually involves the need for large investments, possible contamination of aquifers, or other environmental problems due to poor waste management. That is why we ask ourselves the following question. Can a dairy farm manage all the organic waste on site in a sustainable way? We will see it in next slides. The project was carried out on a dairy farm with 420 cows, where the slurry is treated by solid liquid separation and solid sanitization via biocell. In order to evaluate different possibilities for the use of these organic wastes, 3 experimental tests were designed. The first one, the agronomic test. This was to test the use of the waste as fertilizer. The second one, the pelletization test. This was to test the use of the waste as fuel for heat generation. And the last one, the livestock bedding test. This was to test the use of the waste as livestock bedding. Firstly, we have the agronomic test, in which the compostability of the waste and the agronomic quality of the waste were studied. 3 wastes were composted. First one, the hot bedding of heifers, then the solid obtained after solid liquid separation, and the last one, the solid obtained after this solid liquid separation and the sanitization. After this, as you can see in this picture, an agricultural production trial was designed in which ryegrass was grown with fertilization using the compost that we obtained here and waste with direct application. These were compared with chemical fertilization and no fertilization that we use as a control. And
so much. Okay, I will try to
finally,
introduce.
I think that you can hear someone there. I don't know, but okay, I will see. And finally, I'm going to present a trial of using this waste as bedding for the livestock. Both the quality of the material and the effects of the animal welfare and milk production of its use were determined. For this purpose, the solid after the solid liquid separation by different sieve sizes and the solid, this one is here. And the solid after sanitization were used for bedding. This slide shows some of the results obtained in the first trial, the agronomic trial. In short, I want to emphasize the following 3 things. As we can see here in the left part of the slide, in the chemical analysis, the liquid and the compost of the solid after the solid liquid separation had the best nutritional values. In here, we can see in the middle that in terms of the growth of the height of the ryegrass crop, it was observed that at the beginning, both the liquid and the chemical fertilizers obtained better production results. But as the times go by, these differences decrease a lot. And finally, in the right hand, we can see that in fresh weight of the crop, there were some differences that we can see in green. There were some differences in production, but with dry weight that we can see here with blue color, these differences were reduced, obtaining more or less similar weight values. The results of the pelleting test are presented here, in which it can be noted that first, unsanitized slurry has higher organic matter content, which is converted into higher calorific matter, higher calorific value, we can see here. Heifer slurry has higher calorific value due to the type of feed, this one of here, and sanitation affects the particle size, but does not affect the pelleting. They have the same binding power, but as they are less wet, drying is not necessary to obtain the optimum moisture pelleting. Anyway, there is an excessive moisture for direct use, and they need a bitter or binder material to pelleting. Finally, if we look at the results obtained for the trial of the use of the residue for livestock bedding, we can see that there is a higher number of hogs with smaller bedding particle sizes, and that the use of the biocell for sanitation does not seem to affect this. The lowest, as we can see here, the lowest teeth cleanliness is achieved with the use of large particle size and without sanitizing. This is because sanitizing also affects the particle size by decreasing it. And consequently, as we can see in this graph, the occurrence of mastitis follows the same pattern, decreasing with a large particle size. Finally, as final conclusions of each test, it can be said that the agronomic test is considered a suitable use. We can obtain a good quality compost in an easy and simple way. The heat production is not considered a good option for use because pelletizing the material requires a prior drying, which requires high energy cost and external binder. And last one, the use for bedding, it's considered a suitable use too. It is also concluded that bedding material with a large particle size achieves greater comfort and lower risk of mastitis. Anyway, this is a small brief summary of the project. And returning to the question I posed at the beginning, can a dairy farm manage all the organic waste on site as a sustainable way? I think, what do you think about it? I think that we have been able to show that we can. That's all for me. You can send me an email if you have any question to this email or contact us by the ISWA. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Amaya, for your interesting presentation. Very well developed. And as a reminder to the audience, you can still submit questions through the chat panel in your attendee panel that you can see on the right. And in addition, a reminder to the speakers, you can still answer to the same questions on the chat panel. There are some unanswered questions that you can still have on the chat. So let's move to the last presentation of the first session of the conference. So let's welcome Ana Paula Gonçalves from Brazil, whose presentation title is Challenges of Management Post-Consumer Food Plastic Packaging in a Waste Pickers Cooperative in Brazil. So now we are speaking about informal waste pickers. Ana Paula, okay, I can see you. Please turn on your microphone. Yes, perfect. You can share your presentation. Let's see if everything is good.
Thank you, Navarro. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you. Let's see your presentation if it's working.
Thank you. Can you see my presentation, my screen?
Yes, perfect. You can put it in full screen.
Thank you.
We cannot see your full screen yet.
Okay. You don't see my screen?
No, we don't. We see only your screen, but not the full screen presentation.
Oh,
maybe you can present your presentation without the full screen mode. So for being sure.
And now?
No, try to skip your presentation. No, I cannot see it. In my opinion, turn off the sharing of the screen and try it again.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we can see your screen. Move it, skip it, skip the slides. So let's see without the full screen. No, because you have some problem with the full screen mode. Let's see only the PowerPoint, please. If you have any issue, I can share the presentation for you. Or you can use your PDF.
Ah, okay, PDF is better. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now I can see your PowerPoint.
I see.
Go out from sharing the screen and go back again with your PDF, please. If not, I can share it for you.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Please, 8 minutes, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Sorry, the confusion. Hi, everyone. My name is Ana Paula. I'm researching, I'm biologist and do research in the solid waste area. It's a pleasure for me to be here for the second time sharing my work and my experience with research around the world. Then I will present the study named Challenge of Management Post-Consumer Food Plastic Packaging in a Waste Speakers Cooperative in Brazil. In the last years, there has been a high generation of plastic waste and its improper destination of most of this waste worldwide, especially for food packaging. This destination has environmental impacts such as overload of sanitary landfills. It can also generate economic impacts such as increase of costs for landfilling waste, as well as social impacts such as low income for waste pickers, works that survive from the collection of plastics and other recyclable materials. Therefore, this work aims to understand the challenge of managing PCFPP waste and to look for strategies to reduce it in the reject of a cooperative in Assis city in the state of São Paulo, Brazil. The chosen methods were interviews with members of cooperatives board and which represent for each operational stage, observation of these stages, and documentary analysis of the cooperative internal information. The results showed the main challenge identified in each operational stage. About collection, the challenges identified were related to the absence of environmental education program. These challenges were insistent on disposing of waste not received by the cooperative, such as styrofoam packaging, complaint from the population about the service provided by the cooperative, improper destination due by population, due lack of knowledge or insistence, similar the first challenge presented here, rotation of the cooperative members and instability of the collection team, impacts of the COVID-19 and impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. The man was identified in the increase of generation of food delivery packaging. About sorting, the challenges identified were presence of recycled and non-recycled packaging for the same type of product. This indicates the no standardization of packaging from the same sector, presence of recycled and non-recycled packaging with the same classification, for instance, flexible and rigid packaging made of the same type of plastic, reduction of the cooperative members in the sorting team, which overloads the team, absence of a formal training system for sorting for speakers for cooperative members, this causing difficulties in sorting plastics consequently, and failures in the sorting process. And finally, the important challenge was failures in the Brazilian reverse logistics system. This consisted in the observation of no recycled packaging produced by companies that operate the reverse logistics program in Brazil. This happens because some companies in Brazil work with environmental compensation, similar reverse logistics credit. So these companies do this instead of being directly responsible of their waste, of final destination, their waste. Companies only put packaging on the market and don't your responsibility, absence of your responsibility. About commercialization, the challenges vary according to the type of plastic waste and are influenced by the following factors: composition of the material, quantity and quality of material, distance between the cooperative and buyers, type of buyers, and price fluctuations. These factors define if waste will be sold or disposed as a reject. And these factors, these conditions, as these conditions vary with high frequency in the cooperative, change in the waste classification, the waste destination was observed in this study. One example, these changes, was the styrofoam packaging. In the beginning of this research, styrofoam packaging, which was rejected, and in the end of this research, this packaging sold. So one example of these changes in the destination, the classification of waste, plastic waste in the cooperatives in Brazil. Based on results and the literature information, it is possible to conclude that the PCFPP challenge for caucasus are similar to those found in other countries. That indicates that is a global problem accentuated by flaws in reverse logistics implementation models in Brazil. The proposed solutions are government involvement by investing in waste pickers, cooperatives, encouraging recycling and monitoring the actions of packaging manufacturers. About manufacturers, they must be responsible for the final destination of their packaging and invest in materials with greater recyclability potential. Thank you for your attention. I am available for the questions, and I leave here my contacts and the social media of my research group.
Perfect. So thank you very much, Anna. Perfectly in time. So we concluded the first session of this conference. Thank you very much to all the speakers that participate to this online conference. We can take 2 minutes break just to organizing the start of the next session. Please stay with us, and we come back with Dr. Amani Malouf that is going to moderate the next session. Thank you very much to all.
Welcome everyone. We are about to start the second session of the abstract competition. We are very lucky to be joined by 9 speakers. Please remember to submit your questions through the chat and include your name and state. The speakers will answer you through the chat panel. Please, we ask all speakers to pay attention to the chat box and answer the questions. So I would like to welcome our first presenter for session 2, Novena Rena Veronica from Thailand, whose presentation title is Circular Economy Approaches for Plastic Waste Management in Monado City, Indonesia. Novena is from the School of Environment, Resources and Development, Asian Institute of Technology. Novena, the floor is yours. Please share your screen and yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amani. Let me share. Can you see my screen?
Yes, can you make it larger? Yes, perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm very honored to be here for a presentation about my research on circular economy approach for plastic waste management in Manado, Indonesia. It is conducted for the Masters in Marine Plastics Abatement for Asian Institute of Technology. So a little bit of background. Manado is a coastal city in Indonesia located in the inlet of Sulawesi and also in the region called the Coral Triangle, which is an area with the highest marine biodiversity. However, as the case to many growing cities in Indonesia, it faces an overwhelming marine plastic pollution. And especially with the geographical place of this city, the waste that is mismanaged could easily leak to the ocean, threatening the environment and the livelihoods of the people. And therefore, there is a need to explore the potential of circular economy approach for plastic waste management in the city to keep the plastics from polluting the environment. And so for this study, these are the methodology used: survey to plastic consumers, waste collectors, plastic waste recyclers, government and non-government organizations. And we collected data on the ground to different stakeholders. And then the data was then analyzed using a material flow analysis and stakeholder analysis, which later on helped the development of circular economy recommendations for plastic waste management. So this is the findings of the current situations. Waste management is handled by the city government, given the authority to sub-district government units to to manage the waste management in the villages and the sub-districts government. And then where most funding is allocated mainly for waste collection. And so in 2020, Manado City generates around 120,000 metric tons of municipal solid waste, and plastics is the second highest fraction of the waste. And the collection rate is reported to be 84%, where the municipal solid waste collected is transported to the Sumompo dam site, which is the only dam site in the city. And there are scavengers working in the dam site, which recover waste and salt the waste to a range of waste dealers and aggregators. And to address the increasing waste generation issue, the city government also developed waste banks, which is community-based organizations that collect the recyclables, and also 3R stations, government-owned transfer and sorting stations. So after the survey, these are the material flow analysis. And as you can see here, most plastics end up in the dam site, where only 2 to 3% get recycled, and the rest are in the open environment. And after the material flow analysis, we conducted also a stakeholder analysis overlying the material flow to understand the different stakeholders' power and interest in each nodes of the value chain. And here you can see that the private sector, namely the brands and the retailers, have a high power in reducing the plastic consumption and also in the waste treatment afterwards. And this is the existing technologies. As you can see here, it's very limited and manual with no proper segregation. And there is no recycling facilities in the city. And the waste has to be shipped to bigger cities, which is costly and then has risk of leaking to environment. And the current disposal method is open dumping, where the provincial sanitary landfill is underway. And here, if we look at the policy aspects, the policy instruments are in place for the regulatory, economic, and information. However, the enforcements are limited, and based on the survey is mostly on the information instruments such as socializations to the public. And the next study, the next findings is on the socio-economic aspects. A survey was conducted to households and people of different backgrounds. And as mentioned before, the government conduct a lot of socialization on waste reduction and waste management practices, engaging with the religious groups, women's and youth groups. And here you can see a finding that tourism workers have a high level of awareness because they seen the impact directly to their jobs. However, the lack of alternatives makes it difficult for people to change their behavior. And also lack of knowledge on type of material, where and how to send the recyclables are the most common reasons found why people do not segregate the waste. And so here, based on the baseline study and analysis, there are these are the circular economy recommendations that are proposed for improving the plastic waste management in the city. The first is to create an awareness and education program as already exists today, but creating a more nudges and using the correct channel and approaches such as social media like WhatsApp or Facebook, where it was identified as the platforms for citizens that are mostly active. And the second one is to increase the collection system. So based on the study, it was found that the entertainment areas produces a lot, the most single-use plastics, but it was not all covered by waste collection. So one idea is to introduce a reverse vending machine in those areas to increase the collection system. And the third one is to improve the waste management facilities through partnership with private sector to improve the current waste management facilities. And this can be also the first way forward for the EPR for the private sector. And lastly, to integrate the informal sector to through creating a cooperative and encourage them to participate in somehow formalized system, like collecting recyclables from the source, and also to improve the working conditions for them. So to conclude my presentation, the circular economy approach for plastic waste management requires intervention targeting technical, policy, and socio-economic aspects. However, the technology and digitization is one of the key tools to promote circular strategies and drive systemic change. And however, it is imperative that different stakeholders work and collaborative in a holistic approach with each other in order to achieve the circular economy in plastic waste management. And that is all for my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Novera, for your interesting presentation. You have a question in the chat box if you can kindly answer it. And now we'll be hearing for the second presenter from Julio Radula Versi from Spain, whose presentation title is Black Soldier Fly Biowaste Treatment as a Key Solution Towards Compliance with the SDGs. Julio, the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, let me share my screen. Can you see it, right?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you, Amani, for the introduction, and to you, to Navarro, for leading so well the conference. So as you said, I will try to bring your attention for the following minutes to try to present you how to deal with biowaste and how to treat this with black soldier fly as a key solution to face many challenges in the future towards compliance with the Sustainable Development Goals. I have divided the presentation in 5 points. The first one is the introduction, where you present some challenge that the humanity will face probably in the near future. Then the insect protein as a feasible solution for some of these challenges. Then the black solid fly treatment as a linker between the bio-waste and the production of this insect protein. And finally, I will present you a case study, some conclusions, and how all of these proposals is aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. So it is forecast by the United Nations that by 2050, we will have 9 billion people living on planet Earth. Most of that will be on some cities in Africa and Asia. And this will lead us to a few challenges. And one of them is the lack of protein that we will face, not only for us, but also for our livestock. Nowadays, the main protein source are fish and soy, but it is proved that it's a non-sustainable solution for the future. This is because 90% of the world fish stock is fully exploited nowadays, and the price are increasing so high. And soy, while it's cheaper, is leading us to some environmental disaster and is responsible of 18% of rainforest deforestation. So this brings us to the opportunity to look for new sources of protein. The insects are a nutritious, natural, and sustainable source of protein for animal feeds. This is because of these three main characteristics. The insects are between 40 and 60 protein based with some essential amino acids, are nowadays natural animal feed in the environment and can be locally manufactured as a sustainable and renewable process. The insect protein market is growing 30% per year, mainly due to two characteristics. The first one is the enablers. And some organizations, as the International Platform of Insect for Food and Feed, are promoting the use of insects as food, and also very important as an enabler for the market, for the standards for this product. The second one is the large investment that we have in the past years. We have large agricultural companies investing in this market with near to 1 billion investment in the last 3 years. And it's expected that in the following 5 years, 500,000 tons of insect protein will be required in the market. This also is an opportunity in blocking, because these companies that nowadays are producing insect protein are related with a very high cost of construction and operation for their plants. So this open a door to the use of sanitation, agricultural, and bio-waste as an input to produce this kind of protein. Now I will try to introduce a little bit the black solid fly treatment, as I said, as a linker between the bio-waste and the produce of this insect protein. The black solid fly treatment is based on the bio-waste conversion, in this case for sanitation, agriculture, and food waste, by an insect, is called Hermetia illucens, for the final use of harvest black solid fly larvae as a source of protein to feed the animal. In this picture, you can see on the left side the black solid fly life cycle, where you can see from an adult to the larvae is just between 26 days. And on the right side, you can see some characteristics of this process. It's very fast, as I said. It's very effective because these larvae multiply their weight between 2,000 times mass increase. It's very efficient because you can harvest near to 97% of the larvae and just reintroduce the other 3% to continue the process and have more flies to continue the operation of your plant. And most importantly, are very good for volume reduction of the waste. You can have from 1 ton to 350 kilograms waste in just 10 days. Now I will try to explain you very briefly the flow diagram of a black solid fly treatment plant. First, you have the input, as I said, the bio-waste, sanitation, agriculture, and food waste. Then you have the treatment process that starts with a pre-processing before you can put together the larvae and the bio-waste. Then the larvae starts to eat the biowaste. And at the end, you can harvest the result. You can crush this larvae and obtain some biowaste that this larvae didn't manage to eat. And you can follow a normal composting process, having some compost in like 6-8 weeks. And after the crush, you have your final output, that is this animal feed. Now, this very quick, how all of this proposal and process is related with the Sustainable Development Goals. You have 3 goals related with the planet, and that this process is linked with the sanitation, agricultural, and processing biowaste, avoid and divert from rivers, lakes, and seas, especially in these countries of Asia and Africa that usually the waste ends in the rivers or in the sea. Then the number 13, the greenhouse gas emissions mitigated, is a lot of research done to compare when you treat biowaste with composting process and black solid fly, how black solid fly have less quantities of greenhouse gas emissions. And finally, the number 14, when you can reduce the pressure on the fish stocks using other sources of protein. Then you have another 3 related with people and prosperity. The number 2, zero hunger, increases the farming production, but providing them with this protein source locally manufactured and affordable for them, because sometimes, for example, fish and soy are produced very far from where they have their jobs, and it's very difficult for them to obtain. Then number 7, with the production of biomass briquettes that you can also have as an output of the process. And the number 8, creating direct and indirect employment with your plants and with this kind of treatment. So finally, I want to present you a case study and some conclusions. This is one plant that I have the opportunity to collaborate in the past. It's the largest plant of black solid fly in Kenya. The treatment capacity is 7,000 tons per year, and it's near to a startup. So we will see which kind of learnings we have with this process in the following years. And as a conclusions, we have a lack of protein for the following years for our livestock. We have insect protein as a key solution, feasible solution, and black solid fly treatment, a sustainable way to produce this insect protein from the biowaste and align with the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julio, for your presentation, and very insightful and interesting. Now we move to the fourth presenter, Ana Maria Castro from Brazil. Her presentation title is Assessment of Selective Collection in a Brazilian Waste Consortium. Unfortunately, Anna could not be part of the conference. However, you can watch the video of her presentation in the conference recording. Now let's move to the fourth presenter, Senila Sara Arupa from USA, whose presentation title is The Effect of COVID-19 Pandemic in Municipal Solid Waste Characterization. Senila is from the Department of Civil Engineering from the University of Arlington. Senila, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Yamani, for the introduction. I'll just start with my presentation.
Thank you.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, but not in full.
Okay. Now?
Yes, perfect.
Hello, everyone. This is Senila Sara Arupa. I am originally from Bangladesh. I welcome you all to my presentation. Today, I'm going to talk about the effect of COVID-19 pandemic in MSW characterization. Before starting with the effect of the pandemic in MSW characterization, I'd like to give an insight about the municipal solid waste generation scenario before the outbreak of COVID-19. So this data is presented from US EPA, reported in 2020. We can see from the data that in recent years, the MSW generation has escalated. In just 58 years, 204.3 million tons of municipal solid waste generation have increased. And in the pie chart, we can see that food waste and paper were the main components of this municipal solid waste that was generated. So we can understand that the municipal solid waste situation was already in a dire situation. And with the outbreak of COVID, the situation just took a worse shape. According to many reports, we can see that during COVID-19 situation, during the pandemic, the municipal solid waste generation increased 40% in residential sector, whereas it increased 20 to 30% in commercial sector. If you look into the medical waste situation in Wuhan, China, 240 tons of medical waste was generated daily, which was 600% more than before the COVID situation. As a result, a new treatment plant, medical waste plant, and along with 46 mobile waste treatment facilities were established. But the main damaging factor of the pandemic was creating the hesitance among people to reuse items for the fear of negative health impacts. This started a trend of single use of recyclables, and as oil prices plummeted during COVID-19 situation, the industries were more inclined to use virgin raw materials instead of recycled raw materials. So as a result, during COVID-19 pandemic, the municipal solid waste generation increased. And with the increase of municipal solid waste generation, waste management was a challenge. During the COVID-19 pandemic, waste collection and management were considered as essential service, and failure to do that resulted in health hazard and littering. Now, if you look at the waste management practices, we can see that 52.5% of the MSW that is generated in USA is ending up in landfill. So looking at the waste management hierarchy, we are already at the bottom of the system. And with the increased amount of municipal solid waste during COVID-19 pandemic, there were more probable problems of contamination of novel coronavirus, reducing the lifetime of landfill and availability of landfill space. Now, these problems were already anticipated by various reporters all around the world, but there was no quantitative report to give a concrete idea about what change is going on in municipal solid waste generation situation. So with that, the objective of the study was to see how the municipal solid waste generation is changing, or the characteristics is changing due to COVID-19 pandemic. With that scope included three experimental tasks, and those were physical composition tests of municipal solid waste and moisture content tests and compacted unit weight tests. This is the result of a municipal solid waste physical composition test of municipal solid waste. This study was conducted for consecutive 8 months, and we collected wet samples from the working phase of landfill, and each time 8 bags of samples were collected, each weighing 20 to 25 pounds. And the result presented here is the average result. And from that, we can see that paper and plastic were the major constituent of the MSW during COVID-19 pandemic. On the right-hand side is the comparison of the physical components, or the components of the MSW that is generally found here. And we can see that though paper was one of the major components, the increase of the percentage was only 6%, whereas plastic waste generation increased more than 17% during COVID-19 pandemic, making the percentage more than double. If you look at the other components, they were within a similar range of percentage, but the degradable percentage went down about 10% during COVID-19 pandemic. Now, if we move on to the other test results, we can see that the present study has a lower moisture content in comparison with the previous studies, especially with the ones that was conducted in a similar geological location. So this needs to be found why it was so low. And in the unit weight, we can see that the present study has a very low unit weight in comparison with the previous study. So all these results indicate that the MSW increase that was during the COVID-19 situation was due to a component that's light in weight and has low moisture carrying capacity. So, so all this interpret to the increase of plastic waste during COVID-19 condition. So from the result and the assessment of the MSW characteristics during COVID-19 pandemic, we can say that the plastic waste increased because it's a non-degradable materials, and we have seen the degradable percentage went down during this time, and the unit weight is also very low. That means this MSW that is created during COVID-19 pandemic will take more volume in the landfill, and as it is less degradable, it will stay longer in the landfill. So all of this has some negative impact in landfill. So now if we wrap the whole thing up, in the study, we did the moisture MSW characteristics during COVID-19 pandemic to see the effect of waste generation, and a detailed comparison of physical components of MSW was performed during and before and during COVID-19 situation, and we got that the plastic waste generation increased by 17% during COVID-19 pandemic situation, which also resulted in lower moisture content that was found in lower range in comparison with the previous study, and the unit weight and degradable percentage also decreased during in the MSW during COVID-19 pandemic. With that, I'll wrap up my presentation. Thank you, everyone. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask that in the chat section. You can also email me and contact me with this contact address. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sahila, for the informative and very well organized presentation. I would like to kindly remind all the audience to keep submitting your questions to the chat so that the speaker can answer you. Julio, you have pending questions and comments in the chat box. Now we move to the fifth presentation by Vicky Ekantulu from Germany, whose presentation is titled Using Hydrothermal Carbonization to Effectively Manage and Recover Phosphorus from Sewage Sludge. Vicky is from the Department of Waste and Resource Management, University of Rostock. Vicky, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Amani. Thank you for the nice introduction. So welcome everyone for this session. So in the next 8 minutes, I will be presenting a brief overview about hydrothermal carbonization to effectively manage and recover the phosphorus from sewage sludge. So I have sectioned the complete presentation into like different categories. It will start with, I will give the brief introduction about the motivation of the research, followed by I'll explain the different I will explain the hydrothermal carbonization itself, and then the experimental analysis I have conducted, and later, like I'll be giving an overview about the key research findings. So talking about the, talking about the importance of the phosphorus recovery from the sewage sludge. So the phosphorus is a critical resource and non-renewable element essential for all the living organisms on Earth. And in the year 2014, the phosphorus is classified as a critical raw material by the European Commission, which in turn showcases the future challenges and concerns on the phosphorus scarcity. So if you see here, like in the year 2017 in Germany, there was 1.7 million tons of sewage sludge which was generated. So like in the same year, in the Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, the northern state of Germany generated nearly 30,000 tons of sewage sludge. Considering the composition of 7% of P2O5 in sewage sludge, there is a possibility to recover nearly 2,100 tons of P2O5, the nutrient phosphorus, from this amount of sludge. So in the same year, in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, nearly 22,500 tons of P fertilizer was used for agriculture purpose. So if you see this number, the possibility to generate the nutrients from the sewage sludge, it might seem very less. However, considering Germany solely depends upon the imports for its nutrient need, then like even the small changes like this can bring a huge difference. So the aim of this particular research is to compare the influence of changing pH during hydrothermal carbonization of sewage sludge on the phosphorus transformation and hydrochar characteristics. So talking about hydrothermal carbonization, so HTC or hydrothermal carbonization utilizes high temperature and high pressure to convert the biomass into carbonaceous matter. Here you can see, here the sewage sludge or the biomass goes into the reactor, and here with a high temperature and high pressure, the biomass or the sewage sludge will be converted into HTC coal. And then if it's sewage sludge, then we can also effectively recover nutrients from it. So usually this process will take nearly 30 minutes to several hours depending upon the different biomass. So to understand the influence of pH during the hydrothermal carbonization on the P transformation, here is the experimental methodology that was used. So I'll break down into symbol form. So in the general flow, we have sewage sludge here. This was hydrothermally carbonized at 220 degrees Celsius for 2 hours of retention time, followed by solid and liquid separation. And the solid was analyzed for proximate analysis and the heating value, and the liquid was analyzed for total phosphorus, orthophosphorus, and some other metal ions which are responsible for P leaching. And in the scenario one, so like what we have done is like we have added the acids before hydrothermal carbonization, and then after adding acid, the hydrothermal carbonization was done, solid liquid separation, and then the analysis of solids and liquid. And in scenario two, the acids was added after hydrothermal carbonization. So like after hydrothermal carbonization, here you can see acid was added, and then the solid liquid separation, and then analysis of solid and liquid. And in scenario three, what we have done is we have added partial amount of acids before the hydrothermal carbonization and partial after hydrothermal carbonization. So the main motivation here to keep the acids till here, whenever the component reaches here, the acid concentration should remain the same. So if we see here in the scenario one and scenario two, scenario three, despite of using same amount of acids, we had significantly higher P leaching into the solid to liquid phase. So P leaching transformation was higher in the second scenario. So to understand like what is happening here, we need to know about the acid buffering capacity and then also acid neutralizing point of the sewage sludge. So sewage sludge consists of solid and liquid phase, and then it has the carbonate mineral, metal oxide, hydroxide, and strong alkaline and organic matter and some other weakened salts. So these are the components which contribute to the inhibition of the acidification. That means whenever you add acid to the sewage sludge directly, so most of the H+ ion or the acid will start reacting with the carbonates in the suspension with the relatively lower neutral point. Once these are being consumed, the acids are consumed with here, then it goes further where the additional H+ ion or acid will react with the silicate mineral, and later the additional H+ ions or acid, whichever is present, will react with the organic matter. And only after that, the acids, whichever we have put in, will be utilized for the precipitation of phosphate precipitating metal ions. So this is the process where the P will be transferred from solid to liquid phase. So however, what happens in the hydrothermal carbonization is, so during the HTC process, both the feedstock composition and also temperature and the pressure, like it significantly regulates the thermochemical breakdown pathway of the biomass structure. So as a result of this chemical reaction, so acid buffering capacity of the sewage sludge after hydrothermal carbonization, it significantly reduces. So you can see here again, like as I said earlier, in the scenario 2, acid was added after hydrothermal carbonization. So in this situation, you can see that utilization or the influence of the acid, the added acid is directly induced to precipitate the metal ion, which is responsible for transformation of phosphorus from solid to liquid. So that is the reason here of adding the acids after hydrothermal carbonization, you see higher concentration of Al3+ and Fe3+ ion, and so is the concentration of ortho P or total P increased here. However, despite using the same amount of acids in scenario 1 and scenario 3, So most of the acid which were utilized was used to offset the acid buffering capacity here. So looking at the effects of hydrochar property, there was not significantly adding acids before and after did not have significant effect. You can see that calorific value had the same value despite of using acids before and after. And to conclude, like the key research findings were like sewage sludge has higher acid buffering capacity, which because of the presence of organic matter. So whenever the acids are added directly to sewage sludge, most of the H+ ion will be used to offset the buffering resistance provided by the sewage sludge. So, and there was no significant difference was observed in the hydrochar characteristics with respect to utilization of acids in the different stages. So thank you for listening, and I would highly appreciate your questions, suggestions, and recommendations. And I also provide the contact details here. You can contact me if you have any questions here. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Thank you so much for your informative and interesting presentation. Please, if you have any question, don't forget to place them in the chat box. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to come to the sixth presentation of this session. Let's welcome Samaran Banerjee from India, whose presentation title is Biomining and Bioremediation, a Sustainable Approach for Legacy Waste Management in India. Samran is from the Department of Civil Engineering at Jaipur University. Samran, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Is it visible in the presentation?
Yes, but not a full screen.
Yeah. Okay, so very good morning to everyone present over here. I am Samran Banerjee, research scholar in Department of Civil Engineering, Jaipur University, India. So I'm going to share my work on biomining and bioremediation, a sustainable approach for legacy waste management in India. So coming to the global perspective in waste generation, it is going to reach 3.4 billion metric ton by 2050. And if you see the Asian urban areas, the waste generation is expected to reach about 3.6 million metric ton per day by 2050. So this huge waste generation is also in urban India, which is accounts for only like 55 million metric ton of MSW annually. So this waste generation and its simultaneous open dumping prior any treatment without proper recycling at source, causing a great impact on environment such as long-term greenhouse gas emission, global warming, leachate contamination to vegetation, groundwater, surface water, contamination to air quality due to frequent fire incidences happening in these landfill sites. So there are wastage of various potential resources which is escaping in this municipal solid waste materials, and there are a lot of space constraint there in landfill operation. So to carve out this humongous pollution, National Green Tribunal NGT has mandated for implementation of biomining and bioremediation of legacy waste throughout India. So from 2014 onwards, the Swachh Bharat mission in India has been giving importance to landfill reclamation and minimization of adverse environmental impact, adhering to the solid waste management rule. So coming to biomining and bioremediation, this is primarily as a valuable material extraction, energy and resource recovery strategy. Globally, it is widely popular as landfill mining, and this is required urgently, all because of open dumping and waste growth have a vast implication on environment, health and prosperity. So there are major purposes of biomining, like we can list out like conservation of landfill area, elimination of potential contaminated pollution sources, mitigating existing source of contamination, energy and resource recovery by waste excavation, reusing these recovered materials, reduction of waste management cost, and site redevelopment. So in India, an estimated 10,000 hectares of urban land that is locked in these open dump sites, this can be recovered by implementing biomining in these exhaustive landfill sites. So in our research area, Dhapa landfill of Kolkata, a metropolitan city in India, is one among the oldest major landfills since 1987. Is taken as our area of research, as presently biomining operation of 4 million metric ton of legacy waste is currently ongoing here. So our university, Jaipur University, is solely associated with this project. So this paper objectifies the quantitative analysis of secondary resource extraction from this legacy waste, their usage and plausible pollution minimization. So here we can see the aerial view of Dhapa landfill, and the contour map shows different mountains, mountain ABC, where different level of legacy waste and volume of legacy waste is there and yet to be reclaimed. So our research methodology is like comparative analysis of theoretical approach and on-site treatment approach. So in theoretical approach, we have any hypothesis probabilistic resource recovery, followed by material balancing and analysis of landfill gas and leachate minimization. And we compared with the on-site treatment approach, like the biomining process ongoing with waste characterization and material segregation procedure. So this is the biomining site at Dhapa dump site, our research area. So starting with the process, the legacy waste excavation, followed by the windrows are forming there for proper waste stabilization. So waste stabilization needs volume reduction, moisture evaporation by addition of bioculture, and incorporating the air circulation properly by weekly turning. So this whole waste stabilization process is known as bioremediation. So whether this bioremediation process is okay or not, to check this waste stabilization, we are performing seed germination test using Wigner radiata for proper growth of these seeds. And after this stabilized waste is weighted in the weigh bridge, after this weighing of legacy waste, these dried legacy waste are being segregated in these trommel screens of different size and ballistic separators. These segregated components are of 6 types. We are getting 6 types of biomining components like C&D materials, RDF, that is refuse derived fuel, coarser fractions mixed with organic coarser fractions, sand and silt, recyclables like wood, like metal, glasses, rubbers, etc. Bio-art, that is finer fraction less than 4 mm particle size, and some process rejects. So this is our theoretical approach before biomining. So composition analysis we have done from August 2021 to April 2022. So this is the average physical composition from where we can see waste soil part is majorly more than 50%. We have taken IPCC first order decay rate model for the biodegradable part of these waste components to check how much of these waste components are transformed into soil-like material or how much is remaining to be recovered. So from a different biodegradable part, we can see that the organic waste or food waste have transformed massively into gas, and only 6.77% is remaining to be recovered, which is newer in the landfill sites. So after certain literature survey based on some assumptions and some experimental analysis as well, we have prepared this material balance flowchart of these biomining components. So different biodegradable and non-biodegradable part have been segregated out to different biomining components of 6 types like recyclables, RDF, coarser organics, C&D waste, bio-earth, and process rejects, considering their moisture losses during the processing. So whether this theoretical approach is viable or is it feasible before biomining start in the site analysis, we have checked some site-specific analysis during this biomining procedure. So in this site, we can see after waste excavation, we have prepared some sample windrow, and from there we have stabilized using this bioculture that is enzyclein enzyme. So after stabilizing this waste, we have taken 100 kg sample of 3 sets, and we have just segregated out in the trommel screens and ballistic separator. So we have found these percentages of components like C&D material, RDF, coarser fraction, and so on. And from this comparative analysis, we can see that evaporated moisture is more or less similar or near about. And however, the theoretical approach and site-specific analysis is within the range. So in the pollution aspects, we have taken major landfill gases like carbon dioxide, methane, hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, and the major contribution is of methane, and carbon dioxide is assumed to be contributed back to the carbon cycle. So methane is generating. If biomining was not implemented, then after post-closure period, that is 2015, huge amount of global warming potential of 652 million metric ton of CO2 equivalent would have been there. But due to implementation of this biomining, 41% methane emission reduction is possible, and net zero emission after implementing this biomining in landfills. So this is contributing towards indirect global energy saving against amplified greenhouse gas effect. And if we see in the leachate generation, so due to incorporation of this biomining treatment of this legacy waste, we are reclaiming 24-hectare land area. And due to this, during this biomining period, 68% of leachate generation can be minimized, and it tends to be zero emission after biomining. So towards circular economy, the major findings are like this component that is coming out of biomining treatment, that RDF is being sent to Dalmia cement industry for co-processing along with the coal. The recyclables are going to recyclers and recovered C&D waste, majorly gravel, stones, brick bats, that is going to utilized in the infrastructural work or low-lying area filling, and the recovered coarser fractions, that is that we can see in the bottommost picture, that is filling the low-lying areas. The bio-earth can be used as compost or soil conditioner or soil enhancer. We are generating various revenue from this compost product, RDF, and recyclables. And the land area reclamation is there, which can be further implementing of integrated solid waste management system. So this whole aspects suggests that this biomining strategy can enhance the concept of circularity, and this can be relevant to any Southeast Asian countries. So this is all about my presentation. I am so grateful that you have given a chance to share my work on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samran, and perfect timing and presentation.
Thank you so much.
Now we move to the seventh presenter, Audrey Moretti Martinez from Brazil, whose presentation title is Overview of Household Waste Management in the Tietê-Jacaré Hydrographic Basin, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Audrey is from the Hydraulic and Sanitation Department, University of Sao Paulo. Audrey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Emily.
Please, can you share the screen?
Yes. Is it okay?
Not in full screen.
No. So, hi everyone. Let's keep learning from each other a little bit more on the topic of solid waste. My name is Audrey, and I'm here to present to you a study named Overview of Household Waste Management in the Tietê-Jacaré Hydrographic Basin, São Paulo, Brazil. As you know, nowadays, solid waste management
Sorry, Audrey, to interrupt you. I can't see the slides moving. Can you stop sharing and try sharing again?
Okay. I can present like this.
Or you can present it, yes, no problem. Okay.
Okay. So, as I was saying, nowadays solid waste management, mainly in developing countries, is based on the basic modality of collection, transport, and final destination in sanitary landfills or dump sites. However, the linear economy model of production, consumption, and disposal has already been exhausted. Solid waste has become a public health, sanitary, and environmental problem that has gained prominence in government agendas worldwide and in recent decades. Therefore, it is urgent to adapt to local waste management models to needs of today's society, which produces more complex waste than organic waste such as plastic and electronics. So the next steps are towards circular economy, which proposes sustainable production, conscious consumption, enabling reduction, reuse, and recycling in order to ensure that the generated waste is reintegrated into the production process, minimizing the waste disposed of in landfills. Said that, this work aims to provide an overview of household waste management models in the Tietê-Jacaré Basin, São Paulo, Brazil. Tietê-Jacaré Hydrographic Basin is located in the center of the state of São Paulo. It is formed by 34 cities with an estimated population of 1,600,000 inhabitants. The data collection method consisted of analyzing secondary data from documents and management plans related to sanitation and waste posted on websites of public institutions between 2015 and 2019. The analyzed points were presence of municipal solid municipal plans for integrated solid waste management, environmental education initiatives, collection, final destination, and final disposal. Of the 34 cities belonging to the basin, 29 municipal solid waste management plans were found, representing approximately 85% of approved plans. Regarding environmental education, the basin has Environmental Education Master Plan approved in 2017, which mapped and identified 121 environmental education projects and action in 29 municipalities between 2012 and 2016. These projects work on several themes such as recycling, solid waste, and conscious consumption. Moving on to data on the collection, in 2019, the coverage rate of the household waste collection service was between 90.1% and 100% of the territory in 26 cities, representing 87%. Another 3 cities had a coverage rate between 80.1% and 90%, and one between 70% and 80% of the territory. Calculating the average between 2015 and 2019, the coverage rate of the household waste collection service in relation to the municipality's total population showed a high percentage of almost 95%. Let's talk about the final destination. Regarding the selective collection, the average recorded between 2015 and 2019 of the rate of material collected by selective collection, except organic matter and tailings, in relating on the total amount of household waste collected is 6%. It is important to mention that, especially in these selective collection indicators, there is a lot of data missing, and we do not know if the municipalities do not send the data to the government because they do not have a selective collection service. In 2019, for example, 44% of the cities in the basin did not provide the data. The other 41% have covered between 90.1% and 100% of the territory, while 90% of the cities have covered below 50%. In the mapping of composting initiatives, no data were identified for the Tietê-Jacaré basin. Finally, the final disposal, evaluated by Waste Landfill Quality Index, in recent years showed positive data for the basin. Since 2017, the disposal has been made in landfills with an adequate index. However, in 2019, one city had inadequate disposal, representing 97% of the municipalities properly disposing of their waste. It is worth to mention that 85% of the municipalities dispose of it within the basin itself. And the biggest challenge faced in this area is concerning clandestine disposal and the disposal of toxic waste. We conclude that the model of household waste management adopted by the cities studied was predominantly linear, but it is in transition. The basin plan improved management concerning educational campaigns, implementation of selective collection programs, proper disposal of hazardous waste, and reverse logistics. As we can see, the basic plan points of guidelines and goals to enable transition to the circular economy. Thus, to comply with this plan, there is a need to improve local waste management models to make them more circular. There is a lot of work ahead. That's why the field needs more professionals like us. Thank you for the opportunity. It was a pleasure to be here sharing experience with people from all over the world. Those interested in follow Paris' work more closely, our research group at the University of São Paulo follow us on social media. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Audrey, for all the key important messages that you highlighted in your presentation and for your informative presentation. It was very interesting. Thank you so much. Now we move to the eighth presenter, Norsha Aziat Shuab from Malaysia, whose presentation title is Recycling of Fiber Reinforced Composites, Challenges and Opportunities. Norsha is from the University of Malaysia, Perlis. And Norsha, the floor is yours.
Hello, hi. Can everyone hear me? Can you see the slide?
I can see it, but not in full screen.
All right, can you see now?
Perfect.
All right, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Norsha Aziat Shuab. I'm from University Malaysia, Perlis. So my title today will be on recycling of fiber reinforced composite, challenges and opportunities. First of all, as for the background, so as you all know, that fiber reinforced polymer composite is a very high demanding material because of the high strength, the corrosive resistance, and also the lightweight. So as you can see from the Sankey diagram provided here, that the demand is increasing from 2010 until 2020. And at the same time, as you can observe that the amount of glass fiber reinforced composite or GFRP is much higher compared to carbon fiber. But actually in the recycling of composite, most of the initiative has been directed for carbon fiber because of the high monetary value. So as you can see from the image here, so maybe some of you never seen composite before. So the top one is the carbon fiber and the bottom one is the glass fiber. So you can see the challenge on how to recycle this material, which I will explain later. So the application of this composite came into a very wide range of sectors. For example, in the aerospace sector, so the latest latest aeroplane models like Boeing 787 and Airbus A350, the models consist of around 50% of composite, especially the carbon fiber. And then in terms of wind energy, so the combination of glass fiber, carbon fiber. So what are actually the challenges, or what is the issue actually? Because the composite material is inherently the heterogeneous nature. So it combines of fibers, matrix, fillers, and so on. So this will be much more complicated compared to steel, plastic, and so on. And then actually there are two types of plastic, which is thermoplastic and thermoset. For thermoplastic, it's quite relatively easy to recycle because of it can be reheated and reshaping. But most of the high demand and also mechanical demanding application, they are using thermoset. So thermoset has a three-dimensional cross-link structure. So it cannot be you just melt it and remold it. So this is the problem actually, because you cannot just remelt the resin and then you reshape it. So the issue of the composite recycling, or the other challenges, is when you recycle it, then there are the low value of recycling, because when you recycle, the quality of the fiber will degrade, the resin will be just burnt off, you cannot recover it. And then there is variation because there are too many types of composite. So even in carbon fiber, there are different variant, different grade, and so on. And then it's a mixture of fiber, resin, and some other foreign material. And last challenges in this area is because of insufficient of data. So, and also inconsistent supply of waste. So maybe some of the companies, they would like to have a business in composite recycling, but the problem is the supply of waste is not going to be like consistent throughout the year. So this is what hinder the commercial potential of the recycling. In terms of drivers, why we would like to recycle to the composite despite all the challenges. The first drivers is the high embodied energy for the virgin material production. So as you can compare that, recycling can avoid the use of generating the virgin material. I think it's almost the same for all material as well. The next one is the high monetary value of fiber. This is especially for the carbon fiber. That's why if you do some research or just Google in the internet, most of the initiative are being on the carbon fiber because of the very high price. And last but not least is the legislation. So if you can see that some of the legislation like the ELV, I think this is in Europe, some part of the vehicle need to be recycled. So now most composite material are being used for alternative. So this legislation has now been restricted and then it's being pushed the initiative for the composite recycling. So you can see from the diagram below that if you compare the embodied energy of carbon fiber compared to this is the recycling and also the manufacturing process. So the embodied energy is very high, it's 400 compared to only recycle just need like maybe 10 or 10 to 50 megajoule per kilogram of material. So this is the main motivation for composite recycling. So this is like a review on recycling process. So maybe some of you wondering how do we separate this material, because it's very hard to separate. So after the dismantling and downsizing, so you put in the recycling section. So there are several techniques that are being used. For example, the mechanical recycling, where you just put it in the machine, they will just grind it. So there are also thermal recycling, where you burn off the resin. So these are three, the thermal recycling technique, where you burn off the resin and left the fiber. And also there are also like a chemical, where you dissolve the resin, dissolve the polymer and leave the fiber. So there are advantage and disadvantage. So some of the process, it can retain the value of the strength, but some of the process may also be still in the pilot scale, not in the commercial setup and so on. In terms of the quality, so I said before about the quality, you can see from the strength retention of the fiber, so relatively the carbon fiber, you can retain the strength up to like maybe 70 to 100% compared to the virgin counterpart. But for the glass fiber, the strength reduction is very poor, because when you put into the thermal, it will damage the fiber structure and so on. In terms of remanufacturing of the product, so most of products goes for like concrete, like something like a passive application, where you can put the fiber to replace like a sand aggregate or the aggregate in the concrete. And then actually the performance is quite comparable with the virgin product. And so there are also some other initiatives to use the fiber in the injection molding and so on. So this is the other application. This is one available in the market and also in the studies. So usually most of them are using for concrete or structural component. And there is also one company in Belgium, Procover, where they use the thermoset waste for manhole, cable tray, and other infrastructure. The Gen 2 Carbon, they sell the fiber mat made of recycled carbon fiber. Phylon product, this is in UK. I've visited this before. So they reuse back the waste in-house to make a roof. And this is the last one, actually, is currently my research, is using the waste in the 3D printing filament, where you put the fiber. This is the example of the filament, where you can produce for a 3D printing or fused deposition modeling application. So the conclusion is the popular demand of fiber reinforced composite has led to a manufacturing waste, but in the next 20 or 30 years, we will see a lot of end-of-life waste. And the monetary value is reclaimed because for the carbon fiber. And then in terms of performance, most of the recycling process can retain some part of the strength of the fiber. And then, of course, for the application, we can see a lot of application for the process sector. But my last word is on the studies. We need more studies because we want to ensure the commercial success. At the moment, there are some companies who are a bit success, but obviously we need more studies in this area to find the possibilities. So I think that's it from me, Amani. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attention. See you again.
Thank you so much, Norsha, for your very interesting and very informative presentation. If you have any question for Norsha, please don't forget to place them in the chat box. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the ninth and the last presentation of session 2. Let's welcome Siddhartha Valli from Philippines, whose presentation is titled Particle Size Optimization of Waste Copper Slag Used as an Alternative to Fine Aggregates in Concrete. Siddhartha is from the Civil Engineering Department at the University of Bentagas. Siddhartha, please, the floor is yours. Siddhartha, you are maybe muted.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you and see you.
Can you see my screen? Am I sharing my screen now? Okay.
Yes, perfect.
Just a moment. All right. Oops. Just a minute. I'm having some technical problems. I'm sorry.
No problem. Take your time.
All right. So, good day to our audience for ISWA YPG. On behalf of my co-authors, Christine Mendoza, Ivy Sacristan, and Relaine Mendoza, I am Siddhartha Valli from the Philippines to present our study on the particle size optimization of waste copper slag used as alternative to fine aggregates in concrete. So, copper slag is a byproduct from smelting of copper, and slag that is quenched in water generates angular granules. It is estimated that for every ton of copper produced, you produce 2.6 tons of copper slag. This is very important in the Philippines, whose largest mineral reserve is copper, making us the 4th largest producers of copper. So it is estimated that about 25 million tons of copper slag has been generated annually worldwide. Majority of the copper slag can be reused for cleaning of metals, for plumbing, rusting of pipes due to its angularity. But not 100% of these copper slag can be used as such. And at some point, it loses its angularity from all the blasting. So it will be landfilled eventually. The thing with copper slag, of course, it is a heavy metal, and it not only contains copper, but also other heavy metals such as lead, arsenic, cadmium, and zinc, which can be potential sources of contamination for groundwater, especially when your landfills are not well engineered. Now, the construction industry is one of the main contributors for the recycling of wasted copper slag by incorporating this into the production of cement and mortar. There has been plenty of studies conducted on the properties of concrete with the incorporation of copper slag. And one of these studies evaluated the impacts of recycling of copper slag into the reduction of embodied energy, of global warming potential, acidification, reduction in photochemical ozone formation, and PM formation. Now, oops. All right. Now, there has been gaps in the properties of the use of copper slag, especially in optimizing the amount of copper slag that you can incorporate into concrete. Majority of the studies recommend the use of 40 to 50% by weight, but we would like to increase the amount more to up to 100% of replacement. Aside from that, we would like to know which is the best particle size that we can use for reduction of copper slag. That is the purpose of this study. Okay, so we would like to hit 4 SDGs on industry, innovation, and infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, and climate action. So the source of our waste copper slag is provided by a local petroleum company. This is wasted from the cleaning of their metal pipes. We prepared specimens in accordance with ASTM C192. We prepared 2 sizes of specimens, one cylindrical for compressive strength test, and the other in beam shape, prismatic, for flexural strength test. Now, we selected 3 particle sizes for the replacement of fine aggregates, one retained in the number 30 sheave with a diameter of 0.595 mm, number 18 sheave, and number 16 sheave for diameter sizes 1 mm and 1.18 mm. So our target is to reach 20 megapascals by the 28th day, or around 3,000 psi. So for the compressive strength of our concrete specimens, the strength was not compromised at all. All specimens, all diameter sizes were able to meet the 28-day strength of 19.65. An analysis of variance between our samples showed that the control sample, one that has no copper slag in it, is comparable to all specimens. However, observing for the compressive strength at the 14th day, there is a delay in strength development for the smaller particle sizes, 0.595 and 1 mm. But for the 1.18 mm, the largest particle size, it's way okay. Similar observations were observed for flexural strength test of our concrete specimens. For all curing periods, 7, 14, and 28 days, we observed that the modified specimens with copper slag are all comparable to the flexural strength for the control sample. So no significant difference were observed in the flexural strengths. And we were able to meet the 3.8 megapascal specification at the 28th day for both the control and the 1.18 mm copper slag fine aggregate. So indicating that for both compressive and flexural strength, the 1.18 mm copper slag may be the best particle size for the mechanical properties to retain. Okay. So in conclusion, replacing the natural fine aggregates with waste copper slag will not reduce the 28-day compressive and flexural strength of concrete. So this is not just partial replacement, but 100% replacement, increasing the amount of reduction of carbon emissions and global warming potential. If you want early strength development, the best particle size would be 1.18 mm in diameter. And as full aggregate replacement may yield comparable compressive strength in conventional OPC, the valorization of waste copper slag may significantly reduce the natural aggregate requirement, thereby minimizing the volume of CS that will be potentially landfilled. So for the improvement of this research for the future use, we recommend or we plan to do non-destructive tests for durability assessment and a life cycle assessment of OPC with copper slag for the evaluation for sustainable construction. So again, this has been Siddhartha Valya. Maraming salamat po. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Siddhartha, for your informative and very interesting presentation. We wish you best of luck in your future work. And thank you so much, everyone who submitted questions. And to our brilliant speakers, I'm very impressed with the high-level contribution. It's gonna make this evaluation very hard for us. I would like to remind you that these presentations were part of a competition and will be selecting the 3 best presenters from the conference. The prizes are 2 scholarships for the ISWA Swiss next year winter school in Texas, University of Arlington, and 1-year ISWA membership. We'll be announcing the winners on our website, and we'll also be publishing all of the presenters' abstract in a conference book, which will also be available on the website soon. Please note that the recording will also be shared with you. Now I leave the floor for my colleague, Dr. Navarro Ferronato, who is going to moderate the next and the final session of this conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Amani. Can you hear me well? The connection is fine.
I hear you and I see you.
Perfect. So welcome again to everyone. Let's start with the last session, which is the special session actually. And it is dedicated specifically on International Solid Waste Association Young Professional Group national chapters. So we are very lucky to be joined by 5 chairs of national chapters, and we can start with the Colombian chapter. I would like to welcome the leader of the Colombian chapter, Felipe Puentes from Colombia, whose presentation title is Building Up a Local YPG Chapter from Scratch. Felipe, please, are you here with us?
Hi, Navarro, can you hear me?
I can hear you, I can see you, perfect. Do you have any presentation to share with us?
Yes, but could you, we share it with you, I cannot connect through my laptop, I'm through my cell phone, so could you?
Yeah, okay, perfect. So you can only have a speech, perfect. So the floor is yours. Thank you very much, Felipe. In 5 minutes, thank you.
Okay, sure, okay, we have prepared a presentation. Nonetheless, given the circumstances, I'll start speaking. I am Felipe Puentes. As introduced, I'm the vice chair of Colombian YPG. With my colleague Catalina Ospina, we started our chapter in 2020 while in the mid or at the beginning of the pandemic. So we had to adapt and use strategies to develop our chapter while also facing the challenges of the pandemic. So our main focus at the beginning was virtuality, and only until now we are coming out of virtuality. Some overview of our chapter, as I mentioned, we started in 2020 and we're born virtually. We consider ourselves an orphan YPG since there is no national member in Colombia, and this is also the second time the YPG is trying to emerge here in Colombia. So that's why we like to call ourselves that we're building up from scratches, because we are taking parts of what used to be ISWA's representative here and building up again in our YPG group. So far, we have had more than 25 members involved as volunteers, and we have collected over 1,000 followers in our social media. Over the years, we have created some incredible alliances with more than 20 organizations, national and international, from the private and public sector. And some of them include the UN Habitat Office Waste White City, or Tetra Pak, or many other interesting alliances that we have been able to make. This year, we had our first Circular Economy Forum and Entrepreneur Fair. It was our first face-to-face event, and it's like the result of the 3 years of working we've been able to do. Some of our main programs or activities we have established over the years surround the virtuality. So we have started some publicity campaigns, some knowledge sharing campaigns, and also establishes some webinars that it's like the regular activity we try to do each year. This year we are going to do our 3rd one. The first two were related to recycling and solid waste education, and the following one will be around organic waste treatment. We have also established a mentoring program since the last year to replicate what ISWA's benefits are, you know. So we have from our group, we are the mentors, and we start searching mentorees in academic or, you know, young professionals that with less experience than us, that we can help in their professional way. Another activities we have established are the publication of scientific papers from Colombian investigators, researchers, always around waste management and circular economy best practices. And also we have been very active to replicate and work on our flagship project as members of YPG. We believe our team in Colombia has been a really good example for what we can do when we join forces as a team. And there have been obvious challenges, such as keeping active the members and the volunteers while all of us try to work social and professional pathways. But we're still going up, and we don't think this is going to stop, you know. We have also found some challenges creating added value and become a referent in our network here in Colombia. But this is also we are just going through. Each year we are getting more recognized, and our alliances have worked for our benefit. So this has led us to become a solid group. We have an internal structure that we try to follow, and we have organized ourselves so the different projects can get done. You know, we believe each idea is an opportunity, but we also believe that to seize the opportunity, we need to persist in our actions. So we understand this is a volunteering part, but we still need some results, right? So we still need to persist. I believe I and Catalina believe that our main asset is our human capital. We would like to mention and thank our group. We couldn't have done anything of this without them. And we believe in a Colombian leader as part of the transition to circular economy and ambassadors of ISWA. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Felipe. Very interesting action that you implemented in Colombia. Please, if you can stay with us these 15-20 minutes, because after the speeches of other national chapters, we would like to discuss a little bit about it. So thank you very much. Let's proceed with the next leader of the national chapter of Spain. So welcome Julio, which is also a speaker of our sessions, and who is presenting the YPG Spain national chapter. So Julio, please, are you here with us? Yes.
Hi, yeah.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you. Do you have any presentation to share with us?
Yes, I have a brief presentation. Can you see it?
Perfect. Please, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Navarro. So I have prepared a brief presentation to try to introduce you our group. It's true that we are quite new. We just started a few months ago, but maybe the main goal of this presentation is to try to encourage those that maybe are not in your national groups, to try to encourage you to join, or even if it's not this group in your countries, also to encourage you to activate your group. At the end, it's a very good experience, at least for me, a lot of challenge, and yeah, just go ahead with this. I have a brief introduction. I was to include this chart. I'm not going to present, but I think that sometimes it's quite confusing, all of this group and all of these chapters in ISWA. So yes, to locate here the young professionals group. Here's our group with our members under 35 years old. I also want to highlight in the chart the national members. In our case is Ategrus, and I recommend you, from our experience, to try to ask your national members to support you and in this process at the beginning, because at the end they already have this little network in your own country, so can easily help you and facilitate a lot the work at the beginning. Because as Felipe said, it's a lot of challenge at the beginning. We are nowadays more on the management side, starting to do things. We are trying to collect people and to create the group before starting to do activities. But yes, I recommend you to contact with your national members and ask for help, because it's very helpful. So some data for our group. We launched in early 2022 in January. We are nowadays 30 young professionals in the team. If you see a little bit the background of all of us, we are like experts across the whole value chain. We have, some of us have experience in collection, others in treatment, in transport, in wastewater, in landfill. So at the end, I'm sure that we can create a lot of discussion and research in a lot of topics. So this is a good advantage that I feel that we have. And as a main goal, we are trying to promote both educational and also practical activities in this sector. So as objectives of our group, we have identified 4 main objectives. The first one is the learning, is to build a community of young professionals to support between us at the end in our continued growth in the sector. At the end, with our contact between us, we are learning in this sector all together and day by day. The second is the proximity, to promote local actions to face waste management problems and challenges in our region, because at least in our case, most of us are mainly focused in our daily job in projects outside, international projects. So I feel that sometimes we forget about that. We also have challenge here in Spain. We have also 40% landfills. We have now start with bio-waste collection at source in a lot of cities of Spain. So we have indeed challenge in our country. So to promote proximity here, I think is a good objective for us. Also dissemination with our programs to try to disseminate good waste management practice through small actions in our daily life. And finally, it's also true that we are trying to create a network of future professionals that at the end are internationally connected with all the countries, and it's of great interest for job opportunities. We already shared between us some job opportunities here in Spain, in other countries. Also, we have some young people that is finalizing their degrees. So it's a good opportunity to have some internships if you have some connections in other countries. So I think this is also true that this is an advantage to be in this kind of local network, so well connected. So as a team structure, this year at least I'm the charge of the group from the beginning of the year. We have divided into the core team into 3. One is the educational group. We have two people here leading, Olatz in the north and Paula here in Madrid. Also, we have Mirari leading our flagship project we have called Mini Lectures. I can introduce you briefly after. And also we have a group of communication and marketing that is helping all the group in these tasks to try to allocate a little bit the responsibilities. A part of this, we have all the members of the group. We are all connected, and we have 3 meetings, I think, in the past months, and expecting to have 1 monthly meeting to be already connected. And also we have a monthly meeting with the other local chapters in other countries to also share updates and help us between possible collaboration and joint forces in some tasks. So now for the final, I want to present you some initiatives that we are planning for the group. The first one is the blog. All of the local chapters have a space on the website of ISWA where we can publish content of interest and any outcome from other activities. We also have educational programs, in this case is Olats and Paula leading, as I said. We have two things here, the education program that we are working together with Portugal, Colombia, and Peru. We are creating an education program for primary and secondary school and children to go to the schools and disseminate good practice in waste management with the child. And also we are planning to do some environmental awareness initiatives together with NGOs here in Spain as cleanups in the beaches or in the natural areas. The third one is the flagship project I've mentioned, is the mini lectures. Here is Mirari and myself leading. We are planning to do some 10 minutes presentation, very short, very brief, on specific waste management topics, with later a discussion between the attendees. We have already 3 prepared in the pipeline that with some technology suppliers, namely biogas to biomethane, some wastewater treatment technologies, and also recycling textile waste. That is something that is very trend here in Spain right now. So we are fortunate, we have some connection because of our work. So there are a lot of people interested to collaborate with us and have this short mini lectures. So we will do in the following months. And finally, we have some on-site visits planning. Also, we are fortunate we are connected here to some composting plants, sorting plants, also a live project. So we are planning to do some visits to continue learning. And finally, some events where we can meet, connect. CFAT, I met all of you, most of you in IFA this year. And also in September, we have this Congress in Singapore. So I hope to see you there. Thank you so much. And anything I can help you with, here we are to collaborate between all of us.
Thank you, Julio. Very great national chapter, many members. Congratulations for that. Really nice. Please stay with us because we would like to discuss about it. So
sure.
Let's move with the third leader of the Nepal national chapter. Welcome, Ashish Kanal, that is going to introduce us the presentation titled, "We are ready to have our hands dirty. Perspectives of ISWA YPG Nepal chapter." So Ashish, please, are you here with us?
Hi. So is the slide visible?
Yes, we
am
can
audible?
see it. Not
okay.
in full screen, but we can see it.
Okay, let me change the full screen.
Perfect. Ashish, please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Navarro and Amani, Research and Innovation Group, particularly ISWA YPG as well. So regarding the Nepal chapter, so I will briefly give the introduction where Nepal is located and what are the Nepal chapter, ISWA YPG Nepal chapter we are currently doing, what are the current waste management practices, what are the challenges, and why we want to make our hands dirty in solid waste management sector. So Nepal is a small country. It is located in South Asian region, in between India and China. You can see in the map. In between, it is a least developed country, located in the South Asian region. We generate almost 4,900 metric tons of municipal solid waste in a day. But if you look at the waste composition in Nepal, the majority of waste that is generated is organic in nature, followed by recyclables, and we have very less amount of inert or the rejected waste materials. But the problem is the recovery rate of Nepal is very low. The informal sectors are very active. There is no proper governing system from the local bodies and the government as well, due to which the segregation do not happen at the source. Most of the houses and the institutions, they generate the waste in the mixed form. That is the reason our landfill are always full. So if you look the household waste composition, as I said, we have 65% organic, 25% are dry waste, and dry, I mean, it is fully recyclables. So only 10% are the non-recyclables, which has actually no value in the landfill. It has to be sent to the landfill actually. So, but this is the real scenario. Though in one case we can see that we have a high probability, high option of recycling those materials that is generated. But if you look the ground scenario, it is totally different. It will lack of source segregations and proper technology and skilled manpower to manage those waste. It is mostly managed by the informal sectors in the landfill. You can look the landfill workers that are quite active, sorting those waste, and that is the part of their income and livelihood as well. So in this way, how the most of the waste reaches to the landfill side. So looking at this, we thought that there is a necessity of a group, means like-minded people who can work in these sectors, basically from the academic background, who even has some work experience in the solid waste management sector. So we launched the Nepal chapter is quite young, less than 3 months old. We are currently four members, actually, who are also the members of ISWA YPG and the members of ISWA YPG Nepal chapters. So we launched this in April 2022. So in last 3 months, we are able to do one major program, and some of the other programs are in the pipeline. So if you look the program in June 8, 2022, we did a waste-wide education webinar for South Asia region, where we had a good waste management practices from different countries, including the India, Pakistan, then Bhutan, Afghanistan. So there are a lot of good practices were over there. So a lot of speakers as well. So this was a part of global education webinar that we have been conducting the solid waste management sectors. Apart from this, we are also collaborating with the local organization which have been working in solid waste management in Nepal. Organization called Jivanta Nepal. Basically, they are working in a campaign called a project called Green Child Project, where there is it is some sort of zero waste campaign, where the waste is collected, they are segregated at the school level, and the student themselves makes compost out of it. They have a small garden inside the school premises, and they use the same compost that they actually made from out of their waste. So that is a very lovely project. So we are we have collaborated with the organization. So we'll be providing training to the students, how the waste can be segregated, what is the importance of waste segregation, how the composting can be made, and how the recycling can be done at the end.
Assis, we have lost your audio. Assis, I don't know if it's my connection.
No, Navarro, we can hear you.
Okay, so the problem is from Assis. Okay, we have lost Assis. We can proceed further. I think that we can move forward with the next presentation and last from Hanie. Let's see if Assis is going to. No. Assis? Anyhow, we can take more information at the end of the session from Assis, maybe, and we can proceed with let's see the next presentation. Okay.
Ashish has a problem that he can't unmute himself.
You cannot unmute. Let's check. Technical issues. Okay. Assis, can you hear us?
Yeah, fine. Thanks, Navarro. Thanks, Mani. So I don't know what happened to my laptop, left. So, so this is almost I'm the end of my presentation. So we are collaborating with the organization to launch different smaller trainings at the school levels for the waste segregation and composting. So if we are open to if anyone from the world who can join us as a volunteer, as a members. So if you want to make your hands dirty, you can give us a virtual inputs. You can work on different papers that we are currently preparing. So if you are interested to join us, we are always open. I will drop my details and our Facebook details as well over here. I'm not able to log in the presentation. I don't know why. So thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you
Navarro.
very much, Aziz.
Thank
Thank
you
for your contribution, and congratulations for starting the Nepal National Chapter. So let's move to the last presentation related to the Germany National Chapter. So welcome Hanie Jalalipur with the presentation, How to Launch a Regional YPG Experience from Germany.
Hi, hello everyone. Can you hear me, Navarro?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you very well. And I can see also your presentation. Perfect. Welcome.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Navarro. Thank you, Amani, first of all, for organizing this wonderful and amazing online conference. So today I will talk about how to launch a regional young professional group, the experience from Germany. We are also new. We've only launched in the beginning of the June. So to start to talk about how to launch a regional young professional group, I would say that the most important steps for me was explore the idea and support, reach out to the audience and plan to launch the young professional. To explore the idea and support, the best people to help you would be first the ISWA Young Professional Group itself. There are wonderful people in this group and all of them are very open and willing to help you and share the idea. As you saw, that there are very active and interesting activity also in other chapters. And the other people that would be a very good support to you will be the national membership, or if you have any company or any association that are member of ISWA. Then you should reach to your audience, which is the young professional under 35. So most of these people are either students or the young professional who entered the market already. So the best way to reach to these audience would be going to the related association and groups and contact them and ask them to disseminate the information with their members, or directly go to the event and conference, especially the scientific conference, to meet and talk and contact with the students, master student and PhD student, and who are in the early phase of entering the market. And then plan to launch the young professional group. That would be also very important because by launching, you can invite so many people, and it would be very nice if you can have a launch with other national members or other active members, so that you can reach easily and use the channels to reach more people and invite more people, and then provide a situation for easy membership and inviting the people for the activity. So for me, the first phase to reach to find support was somehow easy, because in Germany, I myself work for the ISWA Germany teams, and for me to reaching the people was to talk to my supervisor that the young professional group is very important for the people under 35 years old, and we are willing to launch the young professional, relaunch actually, because Germany used to have a young professional and unfortunately it was deactivated. As a result, we could have a space on the ISWA Germany website, and there is, as you see, in the working groups area, we have also a young professional group, and there is my information that the people can reach to me, and it was the first step for us to have a basis in the young professional, in the ISWA Germany website itself, in the national membership. And then getting supports from and ideas from the young professional itself. So in the beginning, to just start to informing the people and disseminating the information, I asked the other people in the young professional group to send me like welcoming notes and their experience and explaining. So I received very interesting and amazing videos from chair of the chapter, young professional Ronald, vice chair Catalina, and people from different chapters, Finland, Switzerland, Brazil, Spain. Unfortunately, I couldn't put all the photos there. So this was important for me making this video for second part, for the second phase, which was like reaching to the ISWA young professional, reaching to the audience. So I used the annual solid waste management conference of young scientists in Germany. I went there myself and with my supervisor, and we talk about the young professional and invite the people to join us to and to send like email. And also we showed that video to encourage the people to see how friendly the situation is and how like-minded people there are, and they can use like their knowledge and their experience. So the other ways for me to like gather information how to reach more people was meet the old member of young professional group from the group that was deactivated, and also contacting the universities having the waste management program, especially master and PhD program. So contacting to these people, I could be in contact with the people who actually have event in the IFAD. So coming to the next step for preparing and planning to launch the young professional at the Germany. So we were thinking at the IFAD, because IFAD is the biggest like event in the waste management and wastewater sector happening in Germany. So we thought that could be a very good option. We could have the German student and also people from other chapters and the other young professionals. So, but as you know, this is a voluntary things. But thanks to the networking, we could find like an organization from the Hamburg. From a Hamburg like company, and they did have a place for the young professional. They had a young camp and they want to do a workshop, but they didn't have enough idea what to do. So we could like cooperate, brainstorm, and we could have launching our young professional group by their workshop. And that was a very fruitful section for both of us, because they could provide us with the conference room, catering, everything, presentation and everything. And then we could invite a lot of people and having like a very interesting workshop. That's why we decided like go and having launching the young professional officially at the IFAD. So at the IFAD, that was very interesting, because we could have Roland, the head of the YPG, the people from, as you see, it's very multicultural, because Germany have a lot of like English language, master and PhD programs. That's why there were a lot of people from different nationality. And at the IFAD itself, we could invite also people from the ISWA itself and other young professional. So we introduced like the young professional and the goals and everything to the people, and then we divided to groups and used the ISWA Young Professional Flagship program for discussing and brainstorming on the idea how we can further in the waste management sector. And it was very, very interesting, because at the end of the day, two groups were formed, and one group were talk about plastic waste and other on the organic waste management, which are both are like the hot topics in the nowadays like waste management. So yeah, that's from my side, and we are planning right after the IFAD, we create a WhatsApp group and gather information from people. Now we have a WhatsApp group with 25 members. And as you see today on the conference, we had speakers on the both section of the conference, which is I'm very proud of it that after 2 months they have so that level of engagement. And now we are planning to have like online events to encourage young professionals, and also creating a core group for more activity in the future, such as like field visit and so on. So my like message to you is that use your opportunity, these opportunity like young professional to improve your professional life, and also improve the world for a better future with waste management and the environment. That was all from me. Thank you, Navarro.
Thank you, Anie, for your contribution and for being so active in Germany with this national chapter. So thank you very much to all the speakers. We had also the communication from Maria Japinen from the Finland National Chapter. You will have the video attached to the conference recording. Anyhow, now for closing this session, we would like to discuss a bit in 2 minutes the role of the leaders and national chapters in the waste management sector. So I would like in 30 seconds, so not very much, to ask to the leaders that we have here today. And we would like to know from you what is the role as a leader, as a young professional for helping the change, the business as usual approach in the waste management sector. So we can start from Felipe. Please, would you like to give us some tips to use for spreading and moving forward this business as usual approach and coming to the circular economy, maybe?
Yeah, I believe most people are really interested in adapting these practices in everyday life and also in the big industries. We need to be careful with language and understand how to reach everyone, because a lot of progress get lost in technicities. So it just try to understand how to communicate well to strengthen this chain.
Thank you very much, Felipe. And what about you, Julio? What is your opinion about that? What is the role of young professionals?
Well, for me, one thing that I learned these days is that maybe it's good to stay close, at least here in Spain, to our family, friends, to try to spread the word with them, because sometimes, at least here in Spain, the older, they don't believe in recycling, they don't believe in anything, they don't separate source. To maybe to just combine 5-10 people around you can be better to try to plan a long-term things. So yeah, to stay close to our near people.
Thank you very much, Julio. What about you, Assis? Are you here with us still?
Yeah.
Or?
So my opinion, I think that teamwork and collaboration are two more important things. Keep your eyes and ears open. Try to learn whatever you can. Grasp everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Less than 30 seconds. Perfect, Assis. And last but not least, Anie, please.
Okay, I do believe that the future belongs to the young generation, and who should make the future is us, the young generation. So in order to change it, we should use our opportunity, whatever it is. And this young professional group is one of the best opportunity ever that we use it to change the future. That's it for me.
Thank you, Anie. So to the audience, hope that you enjoying listening some leaders of the ISWA YPG national chapters. We are now arriving at the end of the 5th ISWA YPG online conference. I would like to ask Amani to join us. She is here with us, perfect, for closing the conference. And I remind the attendees that don't forget to join us at the ISWA YPG and the Research and Innovation Working Group, where I and Amani are co-leaders. We encourage you to start a national chapter and support our fight against environmental pollution due to waste mismanagement. Join us and be part of the change. You can keep updated on our website, where you are going to find the records of the conference, the videos, the conference book, and the announcement of the 3 best presenters. So stay tuned. The winners will be announced soon. Please, Amani.
Thank you, Navarro. It was a really intensive and interesting conference with many insightful messages sent to us by the speakers. On behalf of all the organizers and committee members, I would like to express my utmost gratitude to all our wonderful speakers, presenters, and YPG members for making this event a success. And of course, a huge thank to our audience who have joined us from all around the world. I would like to also thank my colleague Navarro for this dedication and commitment to the success of this conference. It was a pleasure collaborating with you. Many thanks also to Adeline for helping us with the special session, Ronald and Chantal for facilitating all the logistics, Barbara and Ines for their hard work in the development of the conference book, and last but not least to the great Ankur for the development of the conference marketing materials. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of the 5th ISWA YPG online conference titled End of Business as Usual in Waste Management, the Role of Young Professionals. We hope that you have enjoyed the conference, found it informative and inspiring, and thank you very much for joining us. Hope to see you back next year. Before we close, we ask you all to open your videos to take a final photo and hope to meet you all in person, maybe in the ISWA World Congress in Singapore. Thank you, everyone. Please open your videos so we can take a, yes. Navarro, can you take the screen?
Yes, once we have everyone with us, let's see. Thank you all, guys. Okay, let's do it. Cheese. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much to all.
Thank you, everyone.
That's all, folks. Thank you. Bye.